Oh my god. If only I can make a deal with God. What's up, stinky heads? You're in a panel? Yeah, I'm gonna be in a panel later, guys. It's gonna be real sussy, like a popular, like a character from the popular hit video game Among Us. Among Us. What? Gump stream, brother.
Ueland just resubscribed for 3 months. Good evening, Papa.
What the hell? What up, nerd? Hey guys. Okay, I gotta. I don't know. Good thing I came on early. I forgot the information in my stuff.
Baby Peyton just resubscribed for 2 months.
Hey!
Hey, Papa. Hope you had a good weekend.
Thank you so much. I hope you did too. Not. I'm just kidding. I don't know why I did that. Oh, dude, this is so annoying. Okay. Sorry, I'm just like trying to set up the. I apparently got logged out on Discord on my computer.
Varnum just resubscribed for 2 months.
Wow.
Happy 2 months, Papa.
Thank you so much, brother. How are you? Are you on the panel? Yes, I'm going to be on the panel. I'm just. It's not until sometime. It's another like 15 minutes, so I'm just kind of in here.
Look at Tiny just resubscribed for 6 months.
Hey! Thanks, brother. Have been watching Stranger Things? Yeah, it's actually a really good season. I'm surprised. Season's been very good so far. Who's going to be on the panel? Me, Stardust. The only people I know is myself. And Nicholas Deorio, I think, is going to be on the panel as well. So it's going to be interesting. Papa, if you could interview or have a conversation with anyone who is dead in human history, who would it be? I don't know, bro. Did you watch the Xbox Bethesda reveal? No, I'm not. Dude, just because it's Pride Month doesn't mean that I'm going to do every gay event that exists. I mean, what is wrong with you? Yeah, the bits are the same as a donation. I think it's like 100 bits if you want like a message to be sent. POV, Kia Soul driving, Kia Soul drivers. Oh my god. Kia Soul owners driving around knowing they bought the single most ugly vehicle to all mankind. And dude, you know what? Who cares? Affordable car, good gas mileage. Shut up.
A Supreme Court ruling yesterday ruled that it is legal for Border Patrol to enter your house without a warrant if you are 100 miles from the border.
Is this true?
Here are the facts, at least the short version.
I'd like to hear this because I think like in 80% of the 75% of the population lives within 100 miles of the border. So, because it's not just southern border, it's the whole skidoo.
Supreme Court precedent has established that people can sue federal officers personally for monetary damages or money if they violate their constitutional rights.
It's called a Bivens lawsuit. Yesterday's case involved a man who sued a border patrol.
Okay.
Australia.
Hey, thanks for the sub, brother.
Just resubscribed for 5 months. Poggers.
Patrol agent for a First Amendment retaliation violation and a Fourth Amendment excessive force violation.
The court rejected his claim and essentially ruled that Bivens lawsuits don't apply to the Border Patrol, that you can't personally sue Border Patrol agents for violating your constitutional rights.
The reasoning was that the Border Patrol deals with issues of national security, and with these kinds of issues at play, it really should be Congress, not the Supreme Court, who authorizes these kinds of lawsuits.
Well, that's ridiculous because I swear to God, like 75% of the United States population lives within 100 miles of the border.
First ever payday, so wanted to donate.
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. You don't have to give me your money though, if you're vibing. Miles in the border. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I could be like wrong, but I was reading something about this the other day. 2/3. So like 2/3 of the United States lives within 100 miles of the border. So this is interesting that like your First Amendment rights can be violated. There's a lot of people. Most people live in this area. Only stinky nerds live in the middle. So that's insane. Like that's insane to me. Hey, thanks for the sub, brother. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So the question, is it actually legal for the Border Patrol to enter anyone's house within 100 miles of the border, their jurisdiction, without a warrant in violation of the Fourth Amendment?
It depends on what legal means to you. It is still technically illegal for the Border Patrol to violate the Fourth Amendment. For example, evidence uncovered during this kind of warrantless search would be illegal and therefore inadmissible in court.
Now, after this ruling, you can't personally sue a Border Patrol agent for monetary damages.
So in other words, this doesn't change your constitutional rights, it just changes what you can do if they're violated. And if you can't sue...
Well, that, to me, it sounds like it does. Like, so what you're telling me is that they can come into my house and they can break the door down, even if it's wrongful. And then after I'm like, hey, this was wrongful. I need you to reimburse me. They don't have to pay it. What? What's protecting my constitutional rights? If there's not going to be any compensation, like how am I protected? What's the? Oh, I got my glasses. What does it mean? What does accountability mean? Do they get fired or probably not? Because police officers already don't have enough accountability as it is. So what happens there? That's insane.
To protect your constitutional rights, then to you that might make it effectively legal.
A Supreme Court ruling.
So just letting you know. Border Patrol. All right. Don't come to my house. All right, or I'll have to. Don't make me exercise my amendments. All right? Don't make me fight back against a tyrannical government. Okay? Don't come to my house.
I appreciate everything you do to inform people, Papa.
Thank you so much.
I don't agree with you on everything,
well,
but I still watch your content because it's so informative and interesting.
I appreciate that, brother. I do. Thank you so much.
Guys, please leave me alone. It's a burrito blanket. I promise. Believe me, don't.
Oh, okay.
Don't mind the big asshole. I stepped on it one time and it ripped. Please, I'm so done. It's a burrito blanket. I don't wipe my ass.
Okay. I don't know what to say. Sometimes I sleep naked and I don't wipe my ass on anything, but you know you can't prevent happy accidents if you know what I'm saying. Did I see a white supremacist group tried to riot at the gay pride event? Oh, okay. I didn't see that. During the Nazi occupation of France, World War II, the French resistance cut the Eiffel Tower's elevator cable so Hitler would have to take the stairs. Damn. I guess that's why he's so fit. I guess that's why he was so fit. I bet he was shaking on the way up.
Cal the Dragon taking the knee for BLM.
Good form, Cal.
It looks like everybody but Cal is taking the knee for BLM.
This is for Cal the Dragon.
Bro, nobody's going to understand what Cal the Dragon is on my fucking YouTube channel. Cal the Dragon is insane. It's a weird... It's this weird TikTok soccer meme.
Why won't you adopt me?
Because you're black!
Oh my god, Tom Segura. Chill out.
Me personally, I wouldn't take this level of disrespect.
Yeah, well, you know.
Why are you mad she choose?
What? What is happening here?
Why are you mad she choose?
I got overloaded with information in the first like millisecond of this TikTok.
This dude in his damn Tesla. Yo, bro, you can't park here. Seriously, you gotta skedaddle. You want me to call? I didn't realize you were chill like that. All right, you're good. That dude was so sick. This dude in his damn.
It's me and fucking brother. You may be fucking stronger than me. I'm gonna fucking pull the fight against him, then. I'm gonna fucking fight.
Oh, dude, don't. I can't. You're banned from the stream, I think. For me having to watch that, abysmal. Oh my god. I'm not banning it, but Jesus Christ. What does that bell mean? Is it a song? Is it a popular rap song? It's from a rapper artist? Oh my god, dude. I can't believe Hassan Piker bought this $2.2 million house. Why? Wow. Is that really his house? That's crazy. It's a very nice house. I feel like it's probably not his house, but it is nice looking.
This happened this afternoon.
Police arrest 31 people with ties to a hate group found inside of a U-Haul? What? Okay, hold on.
Just a few blocks from that Pride parade, a parade that...
Were they smuggling the hate group across the border? Like, I don't understand. Like, why were they all in the back of a U-Haul? I don't understand.
It drew hundreds of people to downtown Coeur d'Alene. Law enforcement says they've been tracking this group and suspects that all the individuals detained showed ties to a white nationalist organization.
I mean, I feel like every white person shows ties to a white nationalist organization. For instance, I go shopping at Walmart, and I've eaten at Cracker Barrel before. There's no way I'm not tied to some kind of white supremacist group. I mean, let's be honest. So, you know, what group could they really be tied? Okay, what group is it, though? I'm curious.
Coeur d'Alene police praising the actions of a quick-thinking 911 call.
I don't think this would have been as successful had we not had one extremely astute citizen who saw something that was very concerning to them and reported it to us.
Saturday afternoon, that person reporting a, quote, little army loading into the back of a U-Haul.
Whoa, a little army, huh? Wow. I didn't know there were so many racist little people. I was going to say dwarf, but is that socially acceptable? Please don't say that. Please say it with an A. Cracker Barrel, please. Okay? All right, you guys got to relax in the chat.
Minutes later,
please respect my ethnicity.
Later, police make a traffic stop. This video shows the moment that truck's door slides open. 31 people arrested.
Well, I mean, like, do we really know if they're all racist? Because, I mean, the gas prices are pretty high. You know what I'm saying? This is the better way to travel at this point. You know, I'd say 32 people, 31 in the back, one driving, 32 people. I mean, what is it, $7 a gallon? I mean, you do the math. I'm not going to do them. What is it, like maybe 20 cents a gallon now? You guys just don't like it when white people are innovative, okay? You just don't. That's the problem.
All with suspected ties to the white nationalist group Patriot Front.
They had shields, shin guards, and other riot gear with them, including at least one smoke grenade.
The arrests happening just blocks from North Idaho's Pride celebration.
What were they going to do? Get out and start attacking people? What?
An event that organizers say drew hundreds of supporters.
We have been through so much, so much harassment and attempts to intimidate, on the psychological level. And the truth is that if you allow yourself to be intimidated, you let them win. And what we have shown today is that you will not win.
Well, you called the cops, but like you should have. That's how you. But okay, I wonder what was it that they were planning that they actually arrested them?
Will win.
Police now working alongside federal
Reclaim America. Jesus Christ, that just looks so bad.
Law enforcement to process all 31 arrests. The men representing at least 10 states.
Oh, I guess they had a grenade in there, huh?
Including Washington and Idaho.
Wow.
And as far away as Texas, South Dakota, and Virginia.
I have no idea how far those places are from each other, if I'm going to be honest with you. I simply don't. I just don't know what that means. I'm not trying to be like that guy, but like, what the fuck does that mean to me? All right, I don't know what's far. I don't know anything about them. I know New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and California, and Florida. Those are the only, I think I listed 5 states. That's it. That's all I know. Reasonably. Okay? Those are hella far? Shit. Damn. I think Washington. I'm not even going to say where I think Washington is. Because I don't want to be embarrassed.
All held on conspiracy to riot. A misdemeanor charge and a jail stay. Police are confident may have stopped something far worse from happening.
Wow.
Police are commending the quick thinking of that 911 call.
It is above it's above Oregon and under Canada. What does that mean? I don't know what any of that means. I told you what the 5 states I knew. Proximity to those states. That's all you can give me.
They also say they've been working with the FBI and have been monitoring various group communications ahead of this weekend's Pride event.
Incredible.
In Seattle, Sebastian Robertson, King 5 News.
Wow, how very relevant for our current conversation that we'll have in 5 minutes.
So one of the main characteristics.
All right. Listen, I have 5 minutes before we're loading up. We're hitting some content. Now, you can't be sending me 25-minute long videos here. What is that?
That's mama panties.
His mom's panties. No! Stop it. Oh my God, I was watching your Ethan Klein's homophobic video and your eye contact with the camera felt so intimate. Creepy. Oh, well, I had nothing else to look at. I was at a hotel.
Money down, juju, it fall. Money down, juju, it fall. Money down, juju, it fall. Money don't do you, it fall.
Stop.
Money don't do you, it fall. Money don't do.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Careful.
Jiddle jiddle.
Be careful. Be careful. Don't fall. Don't fall.
I fucking hate everybody who sends things to me.
No.
I really do. I just... You guys are sending me such dumb shit today.
Tamales, get your fucking wetback ass
Oh, he's saying tamales because he's racist. That makes sense. Okay.
out of here.
Wow.
Get your motherfucking wetback ass. Get that.
Oh, no.
Son of a bitch. I'm gonna get you, you motherfucker.
This guy's pants are very low. Very uncomfortably low.
Hello, Chris Shelby. Look, man, if you're just upset you didn't have money for tamales, just say that. No one gets upset about tamales. Maybe you're just a racist piece of shit. And I don't mean to assume. I'm going off of your Facebook posts. What the fuck is this?
Wow, that is
What does this mean? I didn't click this link. What does this mean?
You probably should have. Just to see what it
You're
means.
a lot worse than I thought you were. Anyway, if you hate racism and you want to support Juan, the tamales guy, then why don't you come out this Saturday and support Juan right outside of Chris's apartment?
Man, it's so weird because like this guy's such a piece of shit. Like this white guy, obviously, but it's just so weird to dox him. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, he's a piece of shit. So how do you can't defend that? But I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's just weird. Yeah, it is how you get shot. I mean, that guy probably does have a gun. There seems to be a connection between owning guns and being racist. Listen, I'm not trying to say anything. I own a lot of guns. That's all I'm saying. I don't own a lot of guns. When the fuck is this panel starting? Where the fuck is everybody? That's one of those weird things. It's like, yeah, like, I don't know. It's uncomfortable to dox anyone. He's obviously a piece of shit. So, like, he deserves to be punished. But, like, in some capacity, I guess. But, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just weird. Where the fuck are people? Is there, like, a special... I don't know. What's with the issue of being racist? I don't know. You got a good point. I don't know. It doesn't really harm anybody. It's never has in the past. Am I right?
Remember this? Well, today, Saturday, the community showed up and showed out for...
Okay, well, we can't... The Eye of the Tiger is playing, so I gotta mute that. It's DMCA. So they all decided to show up. It's kind of funny. Okay. Incredible. No, they all hung out at Juan's house. Very cool. Very cool. Kind of doxed Juan, I guess, at that point. Or maybe that's the guy's house.
It's okay, Chris. You're a good boy following the law. But you, Meg, you're going to jail.
True. L for racism? What?
See that gigantic monster of a man in the back there? That guy right there. Yeah.
Okay, I can't watch these. You got Sia playing in the background. It's illegal. It's a DMCA. What?
Bound, gagged, and beaten.
Okay, it's 8 o'clock. My wife's yelling at me. I gotta go. I'm gonna go pee, I guess, before this thing starts. Let me run a quick ad. I'll be right back, guys. I don't know when it start. I don't know when it's like starting. You know. I'm kidding, my wife. You need this. All right. Let's see what the hell's going on here. You got a Morbius ad? Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Greg, your kids to hell. The Bay Pound. Where the fuck is everybody meeting? Where is this meeting happening? I'm very confused. Do I just sit in the lobby? I'm very confused right now.
Go at each other, get mad at each other.
Okay.
And meanwhile, I'm interviewing Buck Angel. I'm interviewing D-Trans men. I'm fucking like, watching banned BBC documentaries.
Okay.
I'm just going fucking hard. And people are like, who's the #1 enemy of trans people with 10 more viewers on average than him? Rob Noor. Let's take him out. It's like fucking, all right. Like, fucking go attack Rob Noor. I don't care. Like, I'm going to chill over here being fucking wild.
Excellent, friend.
Only you guys can hear me, guys.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is.
I think it's because they don't think they can poach an audience off of me because my audience is like hardcore libertarian and they wouldn't fucking watch any of you lefties no matter what you do. Whereas, like, your audience can be poached.
Okay, my audience is also... I don't think it's that poachable. I don't think my audience is that poachable.
I think I look like the
no,
most
I just mean like
conservative
if you
person
got banned, right?
in here.
Like there's a certain percentage of your audience that would like go to other.
I should get an avatar like the frog.
Twitch politics people.
Like what a dick.
Maybe you're calling me left wing when all of them call me like a neo-Nazi. So you
it's okay. It's okay. You're a lefty. It's all right. You're a lefty.
Okay.
I'm gonna be a few minutes delayed here. So
no problem.
You don't like flipped pop? How do I flip it back?
Good to see you all, though.
Yeah, good to see.
How do I flip this?
Good to see you all as well. Thank you for joining me.
How to do it.
This is the first time I've ever done this, and it's not been 15 minutes past 8 o'clock, and people are still like getting in. So I really appreciate that.
Yo, I'm exhausted, and I'm here on time. Like, what's up?
Doobie
like,
does look very conservative. This guy.
You ought to invite me more often. I got to get my YouTube numbers up.
I appreciate you, Fabian Liberty Scott. I will invite you more often.
How do I flip myself up across here? Because I look ridiculous.
Right. So
whatever.
So okay. Welcome. Why does this always start off so fucking awkward? Why is it always like this? Welcome. Thank you for joining me for another Supernova. Every Sunday, I do Supernova. It's like the semi-blood sports, but semi-casual stream panel that I do. I appreciate you guys joining me. This is, yes, Doobie. What's wrong?
So I expect this conversation to annoy me a lot. So is it okay if I have a beer or two during?
Yeah, go right ahead. I don't care.
Sunday
I can't even
fun
tell.
day, bro. Come on.
All right, this is gonna be interesting.
All right, thank you for interrupting my introduction, Doobie. I really appreciate it. Okay, so like I was saying,
flip my house, yeah.
Welcome once again to another Supernova, semi blood sports, semi casual, where things inevitably get out of hand for some reason, one reason or the other. I don't know why. Hopefully nobody gets swatted this time. I'm just kidding.
You jinxed us. That was kind of fucked up.
Oh jeez. Okay. All right. Right. So today's topic. Usually I have 3 topics for each show, but today's topic, I figure this one's pretty.
Which one is me? Yeah, you have to guess.
Probably will take up all of our time.
I'm muted for them. By the way,
drag your kids to Pride. Do you think it is having children around drag shows and vice versa, having drag shows around children? Do you think it is inappropriate, or do you think it's perfectly fine, completely appropriate, or are you somewhere else?
Sorry guys, I'm gonna guess.
I guess we'll just we'll get started. We'll go around with people introducing themselves, giving like a general stance. Don't take too fucking long. Oh, also a couple rules.
Combining the intro with the first topic.
You know what? Fine, we'll go with intros first, and then we'll come back around. Okay, if that will make you happier, Fabian. Also, a couple rules to lay out for you guys is that I do this thing. Apparently, people call it rage moderation, where I yell at everybody. Please don't take it personally. I'm probably going to yell at you at some point in this. No personal feelings involved. Okay, let's start off with the introductions. Critical Canadian. You're the top, lucky top left person. So why don't you introduce yourself? Why are you shaking your head?
I swear to God, if I could have renamed myself, I'd pick like Z, because every time I'm always the one with the first letter, so I'm always first, but that's okay. I'm Critical Canadian. What's happening? I talk pretty much anything that I want. We do a little bit of gaming, a little bit of politics. little bit of ideas, and we just kind of chill and hang out.
So much gas.
Thanks. Doobie.
Yeah, I'm Doobie from the Politics server on Discord, where we will be hosting an AMA with Roger Stone on Tuesday. Roger Stone is probably the most influential, most relevant political person any of you will ever have the opportunity to speak to ever. So if you want to be there, if you want to talk to him, you're more than welcome. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Should be amazing. All of you on the panel are welcome to hop in and let me know if you want to ask him a question.
Cool. Fabian Liberty. Scott.
Yes, I'm Scott from Fabian Liberty. We are the... I mean, it's not much of a brag, but it's a brag I'll take nevertheless. The largest anarcho-capitalist channel in Twitch politics. We do news reactions, some, I guess, light journalism where we dig into, companies' financials and things like that and try and track down stories. We do philosophy reading night. We do the occasional late night fun videos. Tuesday, if you're not going to go see Roger Stone, I don't know why you wouldn't. We'll be doing a charity stream for Gamers for Love and a panel with a bunch of people from Twitch Politics. We do a lot of interviews here lately, and a lot of those interviews are on my YouTube, trying to have something on YouTube occasionally. So you can see the Buck Angel interview, D-Trans interview. We interviewed Senate candidate Jeremy Kauffman and stuff like that. So, come around if you're really interested in hardcore libertarian politics.
Cool. Okay. Next on the list, Papa Gut.
Okay. All right. So I'm Papa Gut. I have to say the first thing that's really bothering me is that 3 white cisgendered men came on and they didn't identify their pronouns to create a comfortable space for everybody else.
My pronouns are they, them, or landlords.
Okay.
Please address me as landlord.
That's it. I'm Papa Gut. That's it. Fat online. There you go.
Same.
There you go.
Pixie.
Hi, I'm
crowd
Pixie,
today.
she, her. You can find me on twitch.tv/pixiesgrove. I don't really do this a lot. I have a career in gaming because I like making more inclusive gaming because I think games are poggers and everyone should enjoy them.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello. Rose Moulet?
Moulet, you got it. You didn't say mullet, so that's a plus.
The joke fell for them,
I'm
not
a
for me.
transgender woman. I run a YouTube channel. Most recently, I've been known for debating both Destiny and Bosch, and in both of those debates, I mentioned drag queens had some interesting takes. So when I saw this, I know I had to hop on.
Very awkward sounds. Yeah.
Cool. Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick. Keffels would probably say I'm fascist adjacent. I'm a professional Pokemon streamer, and I'm a retired YouTuber who tweets all day.
Cool. Zonia. If she is here.
Hey guys, I'm Zonia, and I am I don't know what I am. You all know who I am now. If you want to follow me on Twitch, Zonia Dead. You can also follow me on YouTube. I'm going to be streaming on YouTube this Tuesday. I'll plug my channel in the chat at some point. Just search for Zonia. You'll probably find me.
Well, that's what you guys know me for.
This Tuesday,
they don't know me.
I'm going
That's
to be
why.
on Scott's charity stream. In addition to that, I am also going to be at some point dipping out from that to go to the Roger Stone AMA to ask some questions of Roger Stone. So I will be streaming for that, and otherwise I'll be probably, I don't know, I represent sort of the left-leaning side of this as a trans person. So anyways.
Cool. I'm Stardust. Half of the people online call me a raging, screeching SJW. The other half call me a neo-Nazi fascist. So, which one am I? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay, let's go around now. Because Fabian wanted to make it this way, and it's very awkward, we're going to go around now, and everybody's going to give their opinions on children and drag shows. Scott, why don't you go first?
Should I troll a little bit, or should I just be serious since I don't get my humor?
Children shouldn't be in drag shows. I think that is such a silly and weird thing that we're even debating this, that the culture has moved so far in the direction of, diversity, inclusion, equity, and that, the neo-Marxist philosophy has infected us to such a degree that we believe that something that is inherently sexual, that is inherently engaged in kind of bending the ideas around gender, that's history is deeply sexual, is something that we are wondering whether or not children should be at. I don't care if it's a tame drag show. I don't care if it's drag queen story hour. The idea that heteronormativity is somehow a bad thing in a biological species where 99.9% of us are not actually transgender is insane. It's stupid, right? Heteronormativity is normal for a fucking reason. And the idea that we would engage with our children being in scenarios where they're going to be confused and kind of like exposed to something that is inherently sexual as opposed to just relationships is not a celebration of LGBT. It's Marxist praxis.
Okay, DB.
I agree with just about everything Scott said, but also if you disagree, I'm not calling you a groomer, but you're trying really hard to look like a groomer, and it's kind of sus.
Oh my god, the conservative
Okay.
fucking groomer.
I'm assuming Critical Canadian has a different opinion on this.
Let's go. All right. So I think looking at the history of drag, I think it's really interesting that when we focus on this conversation, we only end up talking about drag queens, and we kind of totally miss drag kings. I think when you look at drag and you look at drag kings and what they're kind of looking to achieve, how they flamboyantly take male gender and put it onto display in a very movie character-esque kind of way, it makes sense that the contrast to that, the drag queens are also going to end up doing that. When we look at the history of drag and how it started kind of like in Greek times to allow men to perform as women on stage, I don't think it is sexual. I'm kind of going to stop there because I kind of want to get into the conversation and kind of see where people go from there. So,
Okay, let's go to Papa Gut.
All right. So personally, I think we're not taking it far enough. I think that for an educational perspective, we should make it mandatory to do drag inside of schools, and it could also double as physical education as well. It could be an elective. I'm just kidding. My humor is very dry. This is my second joke that's bombed, so I had to test the audience, okay? So, generally speaking, I'm not personally particularly comfortable with the idea of my kid going to a drag show. I think that everybody could probably agree there were some aspects of the specific Drag the Kids event that was overly sexual. For instance, it's not going to lick itself on the wall, things of that nature. However, I don't think that drag historically is fundamentally sexualized in general. Most of the time, it's just about gay dudes dressing up like girls to honor, most of the time, musicians. And that's mostly what it was there. I find it a little interesting that we have a really big problem when it comes to sexualization, when it comes to a drag queen impersonating Dua Lipa, but we don't give a shit that Dua Lipa is showing her ass on stage. There does seem to be a little bit of a double standard here. So,
all right, Pixie.
They can't hang, bro. They can't hang.
So yeah, I don't know. Some drag stuff is absolutely sexualized, not okay, because it's just meant for certain environments. But there's nothing inherently sexual or wrong about like dress up in fun costumes. And I don't know, it seems pretty fun to like.
Bro, they do not get the
glitter and stuff. It seems decent. Yeah, just because you're confused doesn't mean kids are.
They did not like the joke, bro. They didn't like the joke.
Cool, Rose.
Being a transgender woman myself, I'm sure people have assumptions about that. I'm actually very against drag. I think drag is bad for trans women because it basically it's mocking women and trans women specifically. I mean, these men get home and be cisgender men, whereas trans women have to suffer throughout their entire lives. So we have to deal with that, right? But when you talk about drag in front of kids, I mean, this is especially despicable because this is something that is purely an adult act being performed in adult spaces. And obviously, I don't think it's okay.
Okay. Zonia, did you want to weigh in next?
Sure. Yeah, so I think it all depends on the conditions and the environment, all the other factors around it. I think drag, I agree with Pixie that drag on its own is not inherently sexual. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. It's gender bending and can go in either direction. You have drag queens and drag kings, as was mentioned before. And I think based on what we saw in those videos, I think there was a lot in that environment that made that whole situation questionable. And I don't think that the drag and all the things playing into it in that environment was appropriate for kids, the kids giving money to the drag dancers in a bar type environment, right? So it's I think
my wife
that
said
outside of
they can't
that
hang
kind
either.
of space, in a more innocent kind of just gender bending approach, I don't think it's inappropriate at all. I think it's perfectly fine.
Okay, last but not least, Nick.
So okay, when I took this panel, I initially forgot that it was a politics panel. So for 2 days, I was trying to desperately figure out a position to have on this, because I don't usually do politics. I usually do like YouTube drama and stuff like that. So as a result, I'm not really married to a position of whether drag is inherently sexual or not. As everyone's kind of given their speech, I've heard kind of both sides of that so far, and I'm sure we'll dive deeper into that as we go. I guess my biggest issue with a lot of this stuff is that I don't think that kids should be going to bars. I don't know if they should be going to the more sexualized like drag events and stuff like that where they have signs saying like it's not going to lick itself. I don't think they should be going to Hooters. I don't think that kids should be going around anything that is inherently sexual. So if it's deemed inherently sexual, yeah, I'm against it. I worked alongside a drag queen at a supermarket. Obviously, they weren't in drag, but for 5 years. So I learned a lot about like Fire Island culture in Long Island. I heard a lot about kind of just like the everyday thing because this is somebody I worked close with, and yeah, I think I know a little bit. Every time they would come in drag to work before they went off or whatever, it seemed like it was done in a like sexualized manner per se. I don't know if that's like my one drag person I've ever spoken to, or that's like a wider scope. But yeah, if it is sexual, I don't think the kids should be around it. If it's not sexual, then I don't really necessarily have an issue with it, depending on how it's performed at the given event or venue.
All right. Okay, so I guess we'll just open it up then for anybody who wants to say anything, I guess.
Can I ask what makes it sexual? For everybody on the panel that it says it is sexual, I'm just kind of curious on what particularly makes it sexual for you.
Right. So, I mean, the reason that I would say it is inherently sexual is not necessarily, I think we need to kind of split that word into two pieces, right? Because I think there's, when you hear sexual, I think there is an assumption that you're talking about sexuality, right? That you're talking about sexual in the sense that you are shaking your ass or that you're showing off secondary sexual characteristics in like a provocative way, or primary. I mean, if you want to go that far, right? I mean, I'm certain some drag shows have gone that far, but usually drag shows have always been more in the vein of burlesque. But there's another portion of that, which is the what has been referenced here is like the gender bending aspect. And when I say it's inherently sexual, that is what I'm talking about, right? I am talking about the idea that it is playing with the ideas of gender and sex to children that are not necessarily capable of having formed full opinions on sexuality and on as well gender. And when you are taking a biological male and they are dressing and performing usually in extremely feminized and over the top fashion, right, towards children, it is confusing. It is a means of attacking the gender roles. It is a means of attacking the idea of gender existing in many ways, and it has always been that way to play with those kind of boundaries of what gender is and isn't.
But gender is confusing for those of us who grow up with.
I want to jump in here, but I'm not going to be able to.
With conflicting gender identities and sexual identities, it is confusing. So it's overall gender is a pretty confusing thing. Trying to pretend that it isn't and trying to keep it quiet and not allowing for others to express that more openly in the presence of children isn't really going to change anything. I'm
not advocating to disallow anything. I want to make it very clear.
Yeah, but you want it hidden, right?
You're asking when asking. There's a difference between what I want from a legal perspective and what I want from a moral perspective, right?
Well, think about it from this position.
Oh, if he just, I don't give a shit then, as long as we're not trying to legally change anything.
I had a lot of confusion around my gender and sexuality and didn't really understand what it meant. It just seemed like there was something wrong with me, and there was no ability to relate that to anybody because it wasn't something we ever talked about. It was
the frog,
a couple,
though.
It was
kind of
like
looks like he's mouth breathing, doesn't
so that I started to get some exposure to the LGBT community and to drag shows and stuff like that, and start to realize that, oh, well, it's not just me. There are others who have kind of experienced this as well, or who play around with gender bending,
You want me
who
to
do so
rage?
flexibly. And it got me thinking, oh, interesting. I didn't even realize that this is an option, right? Because I grew up in a period where nobody talked about that stuff. It was kept completely quiet. And if you did talk about it, there was a good chance that you were going to get hurt or, you know, like put in a mental institution or something. So it's, in a way, seeing the options, it made me realize, oh, it's not that there's something wrong with me. It's just that we don't talk about this and we try to hide it from kids growing up. We try to hide it and keep it quiet. So
I have so much gas right now, bro.
I feel like it's, in a way, it's almost like saying, well, no matter what you grow up with, no matter what your confusion is, we want to protect you from this other option that may actually be a good option for you, or may make you feel more at ease with your own body, etc.
Well,
So
I have a
who's
follow-up
protecting
question.
you from an option? I don't understand this, right?
Well,
Like,
you might be.
you're
This is
you're
a
an
follow-up
outlier.
question I have, right? Like, let's say you have like your son is playing with like, you know, army little characters, whatever, a typical like a typical boy's toy. If your son was like, Daddy, I want to play with like the Barbie dolls, would you like stop your son from playing with that? Because you're like, no, that's not really a traditional boy toy. Like, you've got to play with like this kind of like area.
So I have a son and a daughter, right?
Okay.
They're both toddlers, and in the other room, I mean, I can bring it out. It's like a Cabbage Patch knockoff that we call Sarah, because it's just, I don't know, that's the name that we call it. And both of my children play with it. I don't care.
Okay, so like clothing too, like colors, things like that. You wouldn't care if your kid's like, you know, I want to wear like this shirt versus like, or maybe like a skirt or like a kilt or anything like that.
If my child wants to play, I'm going to let them play. If my child wants to explore who they are, I'm going to let them explore who they are. Does that mean I'm going to drag my kids to an event that is like, you know, based off of like the history of such, and is overly sexualized and overly feminized, and like try and force feed them as like some means of art before they're able to actually understand it? No.
You called the gender bending part the sexualization of it. Your child playing with something that isn't typically like for their gender is in a little bit of gender bending, right? That's why I asked you what was sexual about it.
No,
that's not true.
It's not like you're hiding the female or the feminine toys and things from your son and hiding the masculine toys from your daughter, right? So
no,
you're
so
allowing them to
there's
see and experience
question
it
regarding
and make
this,
their
guys.
choice.
I think we also have to kind of ask, is cross-dressing itself drag, right? Because I think we're kind of approaching that area where we're talking about the difference between cross-dressing and
I would expect everyone that's on this panel today to have done at least a little modicum of research, right? Like, there has been cross-dressing and there have been men playing women and women playing men, you know, from ancient Greece all the way up to vaudeville. Right. But when we speak about drag, we're specifically talking about a movement that started in the mid 1800s in America.
This is very unorganized.
That was in nightclubs, that was illegal underground facilities of gay bars and things of that nature. That was very risque and burlesque and very sexual in nature.
Well, it was
and now
German bars.
Okay. Sure, but the first person to call themselves a drag queen, the title of drag, right? This is something that started in America.
I'm just
other
giving it
forms of similar things.
Female impersonation was the what it was
female impersonation.
Broadly referred
we were
to
all the fuck over the place,
right? And of course, in the LGBT community, hid themselves in vaudeville because it was one of the few areas that they were safe. And they could perform and they could engage in those things. Part of the reason why the LGBT community is so still deeply connected to the arts. But when we're talking about drag, we're talking about something that historically was very sexual in nature. And as time has gone on, as acceptance has occurred, right, has become less sexual in some places.
Okay.
I think the argument that
I don't know what to say.
You know, there's a certain portion of the population, whether it's 1% or 2%, whatever it is, that are actually in the future going to be struggling with their gender identity and their sexuality. Right. So that fact means that we should expose children to these sorts of things, because there's more than 0% chance that in the future they're going to have questions about.
I'm surprised the frog didn't fall when he raised his hand.
Being exposed to that kind of thing young might help them cope with that. Sure, I think that makes sense if like that's your framework, but I think where that kind of falls apart is there are plenty of other things right, that a certain portion of the population is going to struggle with in their life, i.e. zoophilia. Right, there is like 3% of the population are zoophiles. They are sexually. Well, I'll get to that. Yeah, there's another study in the 40s that estimated to be around like 7%.
Talk about this too much as Vosh
but
is going to jump on.
But the most recent one that I found says that in 2021 they estimated about 3% of the population in the United States are zoophiles. They have some kind of sexual attraction to animals,
really?
like actual animals.
Poor animals.
It's much higher among furries, by the way. I think it's like 20% among furries. And that's like animals. Yeah, that's like animals. Furries. I think like 80. I think it's like 80% of furries have sexual attraction to anthropomorphic animals.
Really?
Right? So like, yeah. It's pretty.
Well, I really like furries.
Isn't that? Shouldn't be that. That's just like fucking hentai porn.
And I love their art too.
Hold on. Let me.
What is this guy talking about?
The kinky stuff or the sexy stuff.
Go ahead.
Oh my god.
But I think most of us would agree. I hope that it wouldn't be reasonable to expose children, especially preteen children, to like humans having sex with animals. Right, or any kind of like romantic or sexual interactions with animals, because in the future they might feel these things toward the animals and be like, oh god, I'm some kind of monster. But if they were to expose to this young, they might understand they have some paraphilia and they actually just need like therapy or some shit. Right, so I don't think
it's a big difference
it's true
between exposing to something where the other
I don't think so.
The other person can't consent.
I'd like to hold on. I'd like to.
This is insane.
I don't think we care about animal consent at all, like as a culture. So I think that's weird.
We never have.
I do.
Yeah.
I think
this
is gonna melt down very quickly.
Going forward, given that we know that there is some aspect of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a very famous experiment, the Bobo experiment. I hope some of you guys are familiar with this.
I'm very familiar.
They put a bunch of children in front of a Bobo doll. And the children treated the doll the way that they saw adults treat the doll, right? So if the adults are aggressive toward the doll, the children would be aggressive toward the doll, right? And this is how we learn to hate children. Model their own behavior around what they see adults doing.
This guy's a frog. Around what they're talking about fucking frogs.
Right? So if you're exposing very young children to this sort of stuff, you're going to have some of these children that will begin to imitate and model their own behavior around these things you're exposing them to, which is what they found in Sweden very recently. And they found that a lot of the children who were identifying as trans weren't actually trans. They were just there was like a social contagion happening, and they were being pushed to act this way. So they started identifying as trans, but actually they weren't trans, right? So they pulled back. They pulled back hard. There's a massive problem with that. So they pulled back hard.
Problem with
allowing these people.
I'm sorry.
Wait 1 second.
Let's let Doobie finish what he's saying here, and then I'll open it up to you.
So they pulled back hard on allowing these people, these children, access to things like puberty blockers and every other thing you'd give to like a trans person, right? Because they weren't actually trans, because they were
this is out of
presenting
control.
These things to them very young, or encouraging this, and there's a lot of like affirmation that you get within certain social spheres if you're trans or if you're genderqueer or a drag queen or drag kid or any of this kind of shit. Right, some of these children are gonna move in that direction, and this actually might be really unhealthy for them, given all the other problems that come with this. Right, so if you want somebody to say that
this is out of control,
now I'm a little bit different from Scott in that I don't have a problem with like children being exposed to like drag queens in the big dresses and all this sort of stuff. Right, I think that's I'd put that on like the level of like clowns. Right, not in like a negative way. Clowns are performers and they're entertaining. The same way that drag queens are performers and entertaining. Right, but the thing that we're talking about specifically, right, which is like this nightclub or this bar, I think there's a very sexual performance, extremely inappropriate to allow children there. Right, so
what was sexual about the performance? Hold on.
If you need me to tell you what's sexual,
no. Hold on. I just want to know. Can you tell me what's sexual about the performance?
I don't know if you just haven't seen it, but
I have.
I'll lay out a few things.
I jerked
off to it. I don't know what you need me to tell you. Okay, well then I don't know what you need me to tell you.
Depends on
the
I know. Hold on. I really just want to hear.
So there are two options. There are two options you can present me with. So option one is you're going to do the Dr. Manhattan thing, where you try to break down every individual aspect.
That's what we're here to talk about. Can you tell me what's sexual about it?
What's sexual about an ass cheek? Are tongues inherently sexual? God, I don't know. What's sexual about songs about having sex? Oh God, I don't know. Is that inherent? It's really stupid.
Can you just
wait? Are nudist colonies like inherently sexual in your opinion?
You're being an idiot. We're taking the entire thing in context, right? So in context, context, this was an event put forward and advertised for people to bring their children to.
Yeah.
And it happened. It was happening at a bar where they had a big ass neon sign that said it's not going to lick itself.
Yeah.
Where they had people wearing very provocative outfits, doing the splits in front of children, dancing to songs about sex, taking dollar bills from the sex. This is a very like sexually charged.
So can I ask you a question? Because I agree with some of that, but the whole dancing and whatnot. So like, do you have the same energy for like concerts where?
Yes.
Okay.
Why would you think I'd be okay
So
with
do you,
taking,
wait,
like,
wait, wait,
a
hold on.
preteen to a WAP concert?
Yeah, no. So like, we'll use Dua Lipa because one of the drag people was imitating Dua Lipa. So are you saying that they're also like groomers as well?
If Dua Lipa advertised, said, "Hey, bring your children to my concert," and she was on stage with her ass out, yeah, absolutely.
So is it just because there's specific advertisement to bring children there, or is it if they let children in there, is that also a problem?
Both things are a problem.
So then Dua Lipa's a groomer for letting kids go to her concert?
I think it's more problematic that they advertise specifically to
children. I agree with that. But you're saying that Dua Lipa...
Hey, bring your kids to this environment, and then the environment that they brought them to, it looks like a fucking strip club.
I just want to get this clear. You're saying that Dua Lipa is a groomer for letting kids go to her concert and dancing provocatively.
I'm saying that it's inappropriate for adults.
Yeah, probably.
For adults to take children to sexually charged places.
But you used the word groomer before, I think, right? Or was it the other guy?
That was Scott that said that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hold on. I think
never said the word
I think
groomer,
if you're
but-
taking your children...
Somebody said the word groomer.
Please, hold on 1 second. I think if you're...
Wait. We gotta...
answer
I'm
the
sorry,
question
we
directly.
gotta... Okay, I'm sorry.
This is
Okay.
fucking nuts, bro.
Two things, real quick, okay? I just got 2 super chats that were both telling me to tell
Lord.
Doobie that Roger Stone is watching him. I don't know what this means.
I love
but
Roger
he's
Stone.
watching
He's
your
my idol.
every move.
Hey, Roger.
Okay, and then I do want you to finish what you're saying, Doobie. Hurry the fuck up, Doobie, okay? Because now people are
ma'am.
getting a little
Yeah.
restless, and everybody's talking over everybody.
And
So
I've been
hurry
wanting
up,
to chime in
Doobie.
for a while.
They can
now.
suck my dick in a non-sexual context. okay?
Ew, gross.
Not sexually, by the way. So yeah, again, if you're the problem is that they're advertising specifically to
This
children.
is
So yeah, I think
talking
it's
so much.
totally inappropriate to take your children to that kind of place. And if you do, I think you are grooming them towards sexual activity and sexual behavior, because as for all of the reasons I just laid out about children imitating the shit that you expose them to.
Okay.
All right,
so,
Dua
yeah.
Lipa's a groomer. I got you.
Okay. So yeah, I'm
Bro, this
glad
is
you
a
kind of
fucking
corrected toward the
insane,
end of your
the panel
original
here.
spiel where you're talking about how
Everything's
kids
grooming,
being
guys.
exposed to like drag, how we traditionally know it, isn't such a bad thing. It's more about the more sexually centered
This is fucking crazy.
drag that you don't like, which I think you and I can both break bread on that one. I think that's I don't find that disagreeable, and that's kind of where my position is. Now, because I was going to push back and I was going to say, what is wrong with exposing kids to drag, even at an early age? You know, and like, what would be wrong if a kid decided to do like sort of play around with a drag, you know, kind of thing, playing around with as a drag performance or something? Do you think that there's something inherently wrong with that? Like if a young boy, say like 5 years old or something, saw a drag show, or, you know, or saw a drag performance artist or something, and then wanted to kind of dress up and do it because they're like, oh, that's kind of a fun.
Well, I'd be
option.
worried about it confusing that kid about his
Yeah,
gender.
I agree with that.
Right,
Maybe
which
it's
would
a
be
little
my,
confusing.
my main issue, right? So,
So-
I would be hesitant about doing it too early, but it really depends on the context, right? So
I
because
think
we don't know how gender dysphoria starts, right? But we
Bro,
do
this-
know
Oh
that
my
children who are raised by LGBT parents are much more likely to be LGBT. So there's some social influence within like the scope like gender and sexuality and how they're expressed.
That
And
doesn't
so-
necessarily get social.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
could just
there's
mean
some
that
influence.
that could just mean that they are more likely to be open and accepting of
Okay,
their child being a
if
little
you
different
prefer
from
not to
everybody
look
else.
at that, right? Like you can just
Right.
look at states and public schools where you have, like in California, you have almost 40% of Gen Z identifying as LGBT, right? The idea then being that that if it's purely biological and the only change is how accepting the culture is, right? You now have to make the argument throughout all of history, unless you know, fucking Teflon or fucking some other fucking chemical or the fucking thimerosal in the old vaccines or something, unless you want to make that fucking crazy argument that throughout all of human history, 40% of the human race has been in the closet and they've just been hiding it, which is absurd. right? Like we know that the AMA is corrupted, and we know that the APA is corrupted. We know that academia is pushing a neo-Marxian philosophy that they have readopted for gender ideology. And the idea is that heteronormativity or the patriarchy or capitalism or the idea of race, all of these things are bad, and we need to raise gender consciousness. And you can see the levels of grooming that is occurring. And so that is the context in America, in our education system, in our children, that when you add gender bending and like drag queen story hour, and you have drag your kids to pride, and you're taking young children to gender bending in the social context of what's occurring, you're damaging your children's mental health so that you can feel better and get some fucking brownie points on social media about how woke you are and how much you support the fucking LGBT current thing.
So I have a question for you.
Bro, this is fucking... There's so many people in this fucking panel.
Sorry.
We should have done like a round in a circle
I was just
here.
gonna say real quick, like I can acknowledge that there's a social element to being trans, but being trans myself, as a 2-year-old girl, like I told my parents that I was a girl, right? So like I understand, you know, when it's being promoted this heavily, you know, by the media, when it's like, you know, the way that it is, I wouldn't condone that. But like I see people use this argument all the time to be like, oh, well, gender is just a social construct, when it's like, I don't know how you explain that I've always known my whole life. I transitioned young before it was this media thing. And also you said earlier in this debate that like you let your kids dress up. If you had a kid, would you let your kid be trans?
Do I play balloons right now?
Would I let my kid be trans? I need you to be more specific.
You said if your kid wanted to like, you know, cross dress or like
let
do
my
things
kid
that are
be what they are, right? I can't let them not be what they
well,
are. But I need the question,
like,
right?
Not forcing. Like I never, no one told me to be trans. I just am a girl. Like I just knew that. If your kid randomly said to you, hey, you know, I'm, you know, the other gender, like, would you accept them for who they are? Like, obviously, assuming no one's pushing it on them, because no one pushed it on me. I just want to know.
So the question is really inherent, and it shows how much the left has captured the conversation. You said, would you let your kid be trans? Would you accept them who they are? Of course I would accept my child for who they are. Of course I would let them be whoever it is that they wanted to be. But if my kid was to come up to me, right, and say, hey, Dad, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy, right? I would say, okay, this kid might be playing around. Let's see how that works out. They keep telling me over and over and over again, right? This is what I am. This is what I am.
This is supposed to be about kids as drag kids.
Okay, now it's time for psychotherapy, because this child clearly has gender identity dysphoria in some regard. That doesn't mean they're trans, right? And the overwhelming majority of people that go through puberty accept themselves as a cis individual, right? So that means that they need psychotherapy. We need to dig into this. We need to do multiple sessions to see if they're insistent, to see why they feel this way, to see if that's really deeply ingrained. What we don't need is gender affirming care that gives them a diagnosis and puts them on GRNH androgen therapy on the first fucking session, right? There's a lot to pick apart about your question, but like ultimately I think adults have the right to make any decision. But as a parent, you should be concerned if your child is doing something like that like you don't just affirm that instantaneously, that you dig into why that is occurring and what that means, and get to better know and understand the problem, and then be able to deal with that as it moves forward in the future.
Okay. I think that that's completely fair. I just think if it does come to a point, I don't think that people should be prescribing hormones the first like appointment. That's ridiculous, right? If it takes a few months, I think it's important to be on blockers if you're young, because they're highly reversible, and they're not,
and the damage is extreme and can do horrible things to children. GRNH androgen therapy is fucking evil. Lupron is killing people.
Okay.
How many people is it killing? Wait, can you?
Who's it killing?
I'm just curious. Who's it killing?
I mean, you've got. I mean, we don't have long-term studies, but we have 30-year-olds that because of Lupron have like fucking osteoporosis. We have like increased cancer rates. We have the data that shows that Lupron is not just and that a lot of GRNH antigen therapy and HRT is not just magically reversible, right? Well, I don't want to couple in HRT, but this idea that you'd say it's totally reversible is just unscientific. That's pseudoscience lies.
I want to let Rose finish what she's saying, but I know also Pixie was trying to get in, so I want to give her a chance as well.
Okay, I'm just going to say something really quick. All I wanted to say is that male puberty is irreversible for trans women specifically. If you're a trans woman, you transition when you're 18, your entire rest of your life, you're ruined. Because testosterone, I mean, when that kicks in, I was fortunate that I transitioned at 14, because a lot of people aren't as lucky as me. So I think hormone blockers and estrogen is great. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I don't know how we got to trans and fucking
Pixie, did you want to Pixie and then Doobie?
Yeah, cool. So, Fabian Guy, you alluded to all of human history compared to now regarding percentages of the population that's LGBT to draw some conclusion about social bias manipulating people into being LGBT. And I was wondering what stats you have, obviously controlling for social acceptance bias over the course of all human history to draw those claims about a supposed percentage of people being LGBT in all of the past that's done of humanity, and how you can actually justify that claim.
Well, justify what claim? The claim is the one that the others would have to make. I'm saying it's an absurd claim.
No, you're saying there's more LGBT people now, and then saying it's absurd based on some reference to the past that you have not actually substantiated.
Oh my God.
No, I'm saying that you would have to, if you claim that it's purely biological, right? Which I'm not saying you do. I said if one claims that there isn't a social element to individuals identifying as LGBTQAI plus whatever, right? That if you make that claim and you say that it is only the social acceptance in areas that are as high as 40%, then what you also need to claim is that that has been the case throughout all of human history, barring some biological change. And then I brought up like random crazy things that one might say that would be a biological change. So I'm not making that claim.
You brought it up.
Saying, okay,
you've postured it as absurd, and you're not actually appealing to anything.
Okay, you
have no sense of the data in the past that you're appealing to make some emotion.
I'm not appealing to any data in the past. I'm not sure if you understand what's happening right now.
What
I'm saying is, if you say there's no, I guess.
Why do you think it's absurd in the present? What makes you think that 40% is unreasonable?
Yeah.
What makes you think that 40% of all humans in history have been LGBT and been in the closet?
Right? I don't know. I care about science.
Right, and if you want to make that claim, then you can
make the claim that's unreasonable.
That's what is the claim that
on your shit.
He is asking you to
what is the claim that I've made? Restate the claim that I've made.
This is fucking ballistic.
The claim that you've made is that it's absurd that 40% of the human population is has been in the closet. She's asking you, where are you? Why do you think that? Where are you getting that?
Yeah, like what is your baseline data in order to be able to
right.
Well,
okay,
I mean,
I see what you're saying. So what you're
like
saying is one would need to claim that and prove that, and now you want me to prove the opposite of that claim. And so the opposite of that claim is that I think that it is ridiculous to assume that 40% of everyone throughout all of human history has been LGBT. Well, I would say that the idea then would be that the individuals in power throughout society would had to have constructed religions and rules and laws that are against homosexuality the way that they have done, despite 40% of those people being of that idea. Right. So 40% of people would have had to have naturally and easily been against all of the specific strong gender roles that we've had, the religious laws that have occurred that have been anti-LGBT, all of these things. And I think that it would be remarkable for them to have that much power throughout most societies and throughout most empires and throughout most religions without there being significant pushback. We'll say that from an anthropological
problem with
that.
I think well, where's the 40% coming from?
Because he had cited it that 40% of
yeah, but it doesn't exist. It's not a real statistic. That's the problem I'm having.
Yeah, it is. It is actually.
I'm looking into it from the Gallup study, and it's like 20%. It's 20% in Gen Z identifying, and those are like young people. So 40% is just a
specifically talking about California.
Yeah, okay. So he was talking about some statistic in California. I did want to say thank you, Beckett, for
yeah.
The
Let's
10
try
subs,
to find that statistic.
10 memberships rather. And yeah, so it was regarding like a California study where like 40% of Gen Zers in California identify as LGBTQ or something like that.
I gotta find the statistic.
So there's a problem with using that statistic, especially the way that you're using it, is because when you say LGBT, you're including a whole lot of things in there. That includes bisexual people, pansexual. That includes people who are questioning or consider themselves to be off the,
absolutely. I'm not saying specifically gay and lesbian, right?
So and we're not talking specifically like gender nonconformity either, right? Because it includes so many things in LGBT when you say that. So when people identify as LGBT, it's not unreasonable to think that a lot of people identify as LGBT,
There we go.
but don't necessarily identify as trans or gender nonconforming or gay or lesbian or any of those things.
I would also
right?
like to go into lots of the other factors omitted to consider here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and
it doesn't weaken my position.
And,
what you're stating doesn't weaken my position.
Well, it does, because if you take a look, okay, so if we think about this on a longer timeline, it's very possible that throughout the centuries that there have been many people who have found
I'm not finding the
attraction to someone of the same sex or of both sexes, right? Or have felt themselves to be not fitting their gender role, right, etc. So all these things could have been very possible.
The only statistic I'm muting this for now because this doesn't even matter. The only statistic I'm finding here is a statistic here that says that nearly 40% of U.S. Gen Z young Christians identify as LGBTQ. So I don't know where this California thing is coming from. That's the problem I'm having here. I can't find anything whatsoever. I'm just trying to find it. Put this back up
to
here.
Come out about those things, and therefore you would see those numbers manifest.
It's interesting,
right? So you would have to, again, you would have to make the claim, and that is okay if you make the claim. You would have to make the claim that throughout human history that there have been an incredibly large, sizable minority of people, right, getting close to 40%, possibly even higher, that were non-binary, questioning, bisexual, transgender, gay, lesbian, or queer. Obviously, they wouldn't be queer because that's a modern invention.
The statistic doesn't exist.
But in some regard, questioning
it.
or fitting outside of
That's
the
what
gender
I'm doing right now.
binary system, or sexually not
I just
fully
can't find
attracted
it.
to the same species, and that those in power would have needed to construct this very non-progressive culture that you're saying, despite nearly every other person in their society not fitting in that idea. Right. So how is it that every society that we've known and every empire creates that? You now have to set up this weird power dynamic and mythos of heteronormativity.
Well, they're making
as
a general
means
argument
of saying that every other person has been oppressed and suppressed throughout all of human history.
Ancient Greece was pretty gay. It wasn't very
but it goes even further than that, though. but it goes even further, because if they've actually done studies, right, as to whether the children raised by LGBT parents end up being LGBT themselves, right? And they found that they're way out of proportion with the general population. Yes, especially if you have a daughter raised by two lesbian parents, she's anywhere from 33 to 50%, 57%. She has a 33% to 57% chance of adopting an LGBT identity. That is massively out of the range of the general population.
Why does it matter?
And do you think that
everything?
wait
1 second, please.
Who cares?
Everything we know,
who gives a shit?
Gender identity, sexuality, gender expression, etc. Everything we know about this tells us that there is like a cultural nurture factor here. It's not just totally biological. Right? So I don't know why we wouldn't think that children raised in an environment like
Nobody's
this.
saying it's totally biological.
Well, then what you guys saying
such a dumb
while we're
point.
arguing is that, hey, if you expose children to this,
it could just be our understanding of like sex and gender is evolving over time, right? And the fluidity of these two things are changing over time as well, and we're realizing.
Be clear. So the claim that Scott and I are making, I think, is that if you expose children to this kind of stuff.
Whenever you're all ready for answers, I have them.
All right,
I'm so
There's
sorry.
literally no
so
fluidity
sorry.
in sex, for the record.
I just want to let Doobie finish his. Hurry the fuck up, Doobie. Okay, and then
and Pixie for a while.
Then Pixie. Then who else wants in? Somebody raise your hand. Okay, Papa got after Pixie. Okay, all right. Doobie, finish your point.
This is such a weird conversation.
So the point that I'm making, I think the point that Scott is making is that there is an element of social conditioning here, right? So like cultural impact on the way that you express your gender identity or sexuality, where you end up on the spectrum, right? So given that that's the case,
autism spectrum
if you're
is where I'm
exposing
ending
children
up right
to
now.
this sort of thing, whether it's the drag queen thing or whatever, right? You're more likely to get these children identifying in that way. Right. So what I thought you guys were arguing is that that's not true, and we shouldn't think this. And actually, these people would have been gay or lesbian or trans or whatever the fuck all along. So we're just being like reactionaries or some shit. But now you guys are saying, hey, it is true that there's a social impact. So what's the contention with what we're saying?
Pixie.
I'm gonna fucking light myself on fire.
Right. So in this historical thing, people are pointing out like just a difference in acceptance over time. That's not actually true. Here are some other factors to consider. One, the historiography and historical records and categorization of them. There's huge biases in historians depicting or altering works to read and be interpreted as straight in the modern day. Also, there are instances like in Nazi Germany, they burned a bunch of records on the study of LGBT people, right? So part of our understanding of the past is based on destroyed data sets. Second, there's different categorization systems and cultures. So in ancient, was it Greece or Rome? They had a military system where you'd have the older, like grizzled soldier, like the Chad, and then you have like the little Twinkie femboy who comes in as like the low level, and they would be partnered up to like fight in battle and also kind of be boyfriends. And then eventually you'd grow up and you'd be the Chad soldier, and then you go home and you marry a wife. And so that's something in the modern day we would probably categorize as gay. In that culture, it was not the case. So there's a change in just, that doesn't fall straight along the same lines we have today. You can read A History of Sexuality, Part 1 by Foucault to learn more about that. And also there's shifting gender roles. So someone who would be born today and might like certain kinds of gender expression
Good job,
would categorize themselves differently based on what era they're born into and how it would be described by people, right? So if you look in like the past, men would dress with kind of long wigs and heels and stuff like that. And today, if you did that same thing as a man, you would be potentially categorized differently or explore yourself in different ways and categorize yourself differently. Yeah, so that's all that.
Just makeup,
Bejeweled, yeah.
etc.
Can I just say also, it's a little.
What do you mean by
up.
that? Like, I'm trying to understand what you mean by like what the relevance of the gender expression changing over history. I don't understand the relevance there. I'm just curious.
Sure.
We're getting derailed,
so
boys.
if you behave the same way today and in the past,
boys.
how you would describe yourself as like normal, like, you know, in this like cishet normative kind of way versus like calling yourself LGBT would change because like the goalpost move and like the box moves around you. So like if you wore the same kind of clothes, like if a man today dressed like Isaac Newton did or like an old, you know, European royal, they would be seen as like a cross-dresser. So it's just if you like doing certain types of things,
right? But I mean, I don't understand. But I'm trying to connect the dots. Like, why is that point relevant?
Because you would not have a clear record of that, and you would not count that as LGBT representation. You just consider that normal. Yeah. If you judge everyone through all time by current standards,
what you're trying to say is that the historians don't like. So what you're trying. So I'm trying to connect this, right? So what you're saying is because gender expression has changed. The assumption is that the historian is unaware of the different forms of gender expression and therefore wouldn't be able to accurately understand or depict or capture the percentile of individuals that might be LGBT because they would not understand the historical context of the gender expression being different.
They would understand it, and the historical context might treat it differently. The point is, if you were to judge the past by modern standards, we might see similar trends in behavior as we would categorize them today. But if you look at the past,
I mean, I don't deny that. I just don't understand how that's relevant.
Because the numbers are padded today, right? So you're saying LGBT and it includes all these things under it, right? So when you say 40% of Californian Gen Zers identify as LGBT, well, there's a subset of that under that category that normally you would not include in those numbers if you took into account the historical context of like people who dressed differently that we would consider today to be trans or trans femme or gender bending, etc. They wouldn't have been at certain points in time in our culture in the past.
What this
right?
So fucking that's dude, Nick? I'm 100% with you, brother.
The number that you're giving today,
100% with you, brother.
That we're identifying as LGBT,
I'm
is a very
100%
broad
with you.
number encompassing.
Dude, we're not even like we've gone so far off topic, bro. It's fucking crazy.
Considered to be oddball. And thus,
like we've been talking for 40 minutes
LGBT,
about a social
right?
factor.
Because a lot of what
LGBT
is
LGBTQ,
sort of like
which
the outliers for what was heteronormative culture today.
And these frogs
not
keep
necessarily
talking.
300 years ago, right?
Okay, I want to give it to Papa Gut.
All right. Listen. So we've pretty much we're talking about whether there's a social factor to identifying as LGBTQ. We already kind of know that's true. There's probably a lot of kids exploring their gender. There's people that are probably feeling more comfortable to actually identify the way they want to. And there's also probably some people that are just like trans trending. I think everybody in high school does weird shit where they over-identify with something. But like it's kind of really off topic because we're trying to talk about like the dangerous aspect of drag. So like, what's wrong with it? Who cares? what that's like, you know, if we can get back on track, like, why does it matter? Why do you think going to a drag show for a kid? I'm not saying we should have kids only drag shows, but why is this going to cause society to crumble and collapse because a kid sees a gay person dancing? And like you said before, you compared it to clowns, so you don't even think it's that serious anyway.
Well, I didn't for sure, but I get what you're saying. So the reason that this is devolving into a conversation about what constitutes the social element towards individuals identifying in a certain way is that we have a social context now where if one identifies, especially those that have, you know,
he's
trauma,
gonna give me a fucking
those that are being,
answer
you know,
to answer the
groomed
question
online in Discord servers, those that are being groomed by the public health school, by the public school system. And
why do you keep using the word grooming? Like, why does that word mean nothing to you? Like, I don't. It's weird.
No, it means a lot to me. I'm not using it casually.
Conditioning? Like when you
no,
conditioning is fine.
I mean, taking children.
Okay.
Right? I mean, taking children that are unable to understand their identity fully, unable to consent, then triangulating them from parents, keeping secrets from parents, love bombing.
But that's not what we're talking
attention.
about here, though.
No,
we're
that's
talking.
what I'm
but we're talking about a
in
drag show. We're talking about it, but that's so irrelevant. We're talking about a drag show where parents took their kids willingly. So, like the public school system, the public school system aspect of this is so irrelevant to the conversation that we're talking about right now. It seems like you're hijacking the conversation so that you can talk about an issue that you have a problem with, which is totally fine, completely irrelevant to specifically whether we should allow. You've talked like the whole time. Let me get a point out. This isn't relevant specifically to the conversation whether we should allow kids a drag or not. You're talking about the public school system withholding information from parents. Different conversation. Not the time for it. We're so off of topic. Let's talk about specific. Let's specifically talk about the issue of parents, in this case, bringing their kids to a drag show, not about the public school system. Like, that's what we're here to talk about. So let's isolate it to the conversation.
No, that's
what are you talking about? It's true. That's the whole conversation. You can disagree, but you're wrong objectively.
No, you're wrong because you're trying to devoid it from the context.
I'm not.
You're trying to devoid it from the social situation that we have. If you want to talk about the dangers of drag, then you first need to establish that there is some social element. Everyone here
we've already acknowledged that, but that has nothing to do with teachers and schools.
Right, we agree that there is a social
he's gonna go into
element.
some fucking conspiracy theory,
what I'm
bro.
now attempting to describe is that there is lots of issues with our children currently and the confusion around gender, and that this is an additional element that can exacerbate problems that are connected with other things. I'm not going to do a fucking univariate analysis and only look at drag and only look at the exact.
But that's what the conversation is.
Completely isolated from the world that the fucking children live in.
We're talking about a conversation about parents bringing their kids to drag. This is if you want to talk about it after, we should satisfy this conversation first.
No,
you're overloading the conversation.
You do not get to devoid.
Well, you don't get to hijack the conversation just for some like clips on YouTube, man. Like, why don't we just talk about the real conversation? You just keep using the word grooming over and over again. Like, it's just like it's fucking insane.
He's talking about the school system whatsoever. Why didn't you talk about that? You asked him why he kept using the word grooming, then he explained why he's using the word grooming.
Well, he means the word conditioning. He's just trying to morally load it so that he can seem like he's morally virtuous. Yeah.
I mean, fucking grooming.
I'm sorry, guys, but money speaks to me. Thank you, Couchman, for the $10 super chat with the octopus emoji. I very much appreciate it. Remember, chat, you can super chat me, and maybe, if it's appropriate, I will read your dumb fucking super chat. Secondly, I will let Papa Gut finish what he's saying. I want to give then some speaking time to Critical Canadian too as well, since he's been waiting.
Thank God.
I want to hear from Nick also. I have a feeling Nick has got some powerful insight here.
I absolutely don't. I'm texting Stardust apologizing.
No, he has.
I'll try him in eventually. I promise.
He has a spicy take, but let's go with Papa Gut.
There's not much else to say. I mean, I just think we should try to keep it to the conversation about kids drag and mostly parents willingly taking their kids to drag rather than go off onto this whole steamboat. Because we didn't even set we started off talking about how it was sexualized. Nobody's been able to show us how inherently drag is sexualized, other than this kind of like weird perspective of trying to compound sexualization with gender conversation, which those aren't the same thing. When in society we look at sexualized things as things relating to like having sex, so we just kind of like throwing the definitions, like we're throwing words out here that don't align with the definition of the word, like grooming and sexualization, and we haven't even gone that far. But we're really good at talk. I don't know. We're going off the fucking rails.
Yeah,
so.
We are going off the rails. I do agree. Critical Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with Papa Got More. I think when we talk about sexualization, we kind of get lost in this. I think when we talk about sexualization, we should realize that we're talking about something being the sexual desire or the sexual object that somebody is lusting after. And when you're kind of missing that component, while it might be, it might be scantily, they might be dancing. We can look to other areas of society where we see this, where we don't put the same sexual lens on it. I do have kind of a question for Fabian Liberty.
Dua Lipa.
If you had let's say a kid was questioning their gender identity, do you think they could use drag to kind of suss out whether or not they're actually trans? Like if they, maybe they think they're a trans girl, trans woman, and they
doopy loopy,
do it like a drag queen type thing. Do you think that could help them kind of like make that decision and understand their gender?
I think that if you want to engage in drama therapy, that you shouldn't just encourage parents that aren't licensed to engage in that level of therapy to do so. If your therapist believes that drama therapy is a good way to suss that out, right? Then and to engage with what it feels like to be in that role and do so under the care of someone that is licensed and specialized in gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria. Yeah, sure. I think drama therapy.
What do you think could go wrong? What do you think could go wrong there?
Right. So, I mean, you're talking about someone that is not cognitively fully developed, doesn't have, especially when talking about like narrative therapy and an understanding of like identity, they don't have a strong
character from the popular hit video game.
Right. So when you start giving them performances to play, right, it can confuse them further. But if it's done under the care of someone that kind of knows what they're doing, knows the circumstances that the child is doing,
why don't you just come on the panel
they're in and is
educated on
engaged
mental
in therapy.
health issues?
Yeah, I think drama therapy might be an
say.
effective way, but I would leave that up to, a licensed psychologist, masters in social work, counselor, etc., to be engaging in that kind of stuff, and not just like parents experimenting with their kids playing under genders.
Do you think parents should be pushing what they think like masculinity or femininity should be?
I did see that picture.
Or should it be more like a societal thing
that
we look to like allow kids to explore their own kind of like identities?
I would think it's probably a mixture of both, right? I mean, I think children need to be socialized into their social environment, but I also think that parents are the default guardians of children and should be imparting their values and wisdom on their children.
So a parent can like allow push like the masculinity or femininity, but they can't allow their child to like explore it. They can push one aspect of gender, but not another.
No, I didn't make that claim.
Yeah, he basically.
Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying that parents aren't allowed to like drama play with their kids to allow them to explore their gender. But
I never said anything about whether or not they're allowed to do anything.
Well, you said they shouldn't be, right? That therapists should be doing it, parents shouldn't.
Well, I didn't say that
it would be a bad idea to engage in drama therapy when you don't know what you're doing with your child that is identifying with gender identity disorder. Like this is like if your child has gender identity dysphoria, gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder, and they're coming to you with that, you should start seeking out experts. You shouldn't just play willy-nilly.
Why is that?
But let's say
why is it that
your
deep?
Kid comes to you, I want to try a dress
on. It doesn't
on
need to be that deep
because I want to see if it's something I enjoy. Is that something that a parent should be able to do, or should they go to an expert? Well, no, that is because that's what we're talking about, right?
No, that's a totally different context, right? If your kid just says, "I want to try a dress," that's up to the parent to decide whether or not they want the kid to wear a dress. I don't know. Like, I don't see anything wrong with a kid wanting to play. Like, if my son wants to play dress with my daughter, and they both play,
he keeps bringing it to gender dysphoria when, like, most of the time these kids are just fucking being weirdos. You know what I mean? They're not. That's not that always that deep.
I'm a girl over and over again, or I think I'm a boy over and over again. It's time to involve a professional.
What does that have to do with drag?
Let's say they come to you and they go, I feel like a girl, I want to try on a dress. Should a parent go to an expert first, or should the parent allow them to wear that dress?
You're in what context? Are they saying it over and over and over again?
Yeah, they say it over and over again. They say, Dad, I want to try a dress.
I'm so sorry, but I think we are really getting off topic here because we're trying to
it's not because it's the like if you look at drag as like the cosplay of like gender and the flamboyantness of it, right? As we move through the ages, right? Like what the Greeks did for like femininity isn't going to be the same that like drag kings do now, right? It's going to be very different. What drag queens do now
can no longer wear
the same that they did in Greek times, right? It's going to look very different. So what I'm asking is like, if you have a child that comes to you and says, I'm a girl, I think I'm a girl, I want to try on a dress, would you allow them to basically wear that dress to see if they fit like that kind of gender standard that we have in society
Well,
today?
there's a difference between drag and cross-dressing, right? I thought.
Yeah,
that
but they're saying that
this.
they're saying it's always bad because it could confuse a child. I'm asking if we could use it in a positive way to allow children to like see if they're actually comfortable with their gender identity or like the questions that they might have.
I don't know how many times we can go back and forth on this before
it's
I
fine.
just give you the
Drop
same
it, it's
answer,
fine.
which is
Yeah,
that
I
like
understand.
if someone has gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria and is presenting that way, you shouldn't just play around with them. You should seek help, because this, even regardless of whether or not they grow up to be a trans person or whether or not they grow up comfortable in their own body, which is the majority, right? No matter what, you're looking at a situation that is likely going to lead towards a lot of difficulties in the future, and you should do the best to take care of your children and protect your children and to guide them through those difficulties. And you shouldn't just be playing willy-nilly with gender without getting specific help. Like, I don't understand.
Okay, can I ask one more question for the whole panel? Is nudist colonies inherently sexual? And then everybody can chew off.
Who's the fucking moderator here? Critical Canadian? No, I'm just kidding. You can ask the question, but know your.
Sorry, I'm
fucking
mansplaining
place.
all over the place.
Know your fucking place.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of Critical Canadian being the moderator here. I don't think you're doing a very good job, Stardust.
Wow.
Are you summoning the screaming?
I'm
You're
sorry.
summoning
I'm
the
sorry.
screaming.
Well, just 1 second. 1 second.
This
Sorry,
is getting
guys.
crazy.
Just a second.
Oh my lord.
All right. So let's continue with what we were saying.
Did somebody leave? Oh, she kicked somebody out.
Just kidding.
Damn.
Wow.
Transphobia in action right there.
It was like a
Real.
Dylan Burns moment. I just watched Xanderhall get voted off Hippy Dippy right live. The fuck?
I'll answer the question. Okay. I think. I mean, it depends on.
It take her a long time to do that, though. It's like gotta look for the mod controls. Look for the mod controls.
Well, look, I do most of my moderating.
I guess we're not gonna
continue what you were saying. Papa,
you asked the question.
Before Zonia fucking interrupted you.
You asked if is nudist colonies are inherently sexual? Yeah, probably not. I think a lot of that is like a societal standard for the most part. Like if I saw a nudist colony, I'd probably think it's sexual. I'd start masturbating right on the spot. But
Jesus Christ,
if I lived in a nudist colony, I probably wouldn't. You know what I mean? So it's very much like a social.
Who's gonna stop him?
Nobody can stop me.
I
You wouldn't even be able to see it. You wouldn't even be able to see me masturbating because you wouldn't be able to see it. It's so small.
Not the people of the nudist colony. They're most likely vegans, right? They're going to be too weak to stop Papa Gut.
Maybe.
Well, look, I don't think the human body is inherently like sexual per se. I think it's like when you do sexual things with it, right? So you can look at like
that's what I'm gonna do.
Sexual organs from like a very clinical way and like not. I don't know. I feel like there's definitely a difference there, but yeah, Rose, you haven't spoken in a while.
See, now they're starting to get the humor.
Actually, did this is going to be a little long, but I'll try to make it short. Okay. So first of all,
that's what she said.
What did I say?
Okay. Anyway, so Papa Guy was mentioning how we were off topic. I want to address all those things. I wrote this whole thing. So just because parents brought them, that doesn't make it okay. Parents make bad decisions all the time. That shouldn't be allowed. You know, if a parent makes their child do like a beauty pageant, that's probably not good. I think drag is super sexual. I think like the organizer specifically made an event for kids, and the fact that they put sexual elements. I mean, you have this drag queen like taking the dollar from this literal child. Like I think that's particularly despicable. And also, when you're doing drag, you're doing an over-exaggerated version of a sex that you don't even identify as. And when you say, what about Dua Lipa? Well, the difference between Dua Lipa is that she's not an exaggeration of femininity. She's being herself. I think there's a big difference between fake boobs and a woman wearing a low-cut shirt. And I think it's dishonest to say the same thing.
Well, wait, a lot of.
Wait, which one's sexier?
Sorry, have fake boobs.
That was pretty short, actually.
Which one is sexier, though? I'm a little confused. Why is
a lot of women have fake boobs too, though? Like cis women.
Well, no, but I think she means like actually like just wearing fake boobs.
Why does it make it more sexual though to have fake boobs versus having real boobs? What makes that more sexual?
I don't. The problem isn't the sexual thing. I think, and
that's what it sounded like.
You can correct me if I'm incorrect, but I think what you're pointing to is the fact that drag, part of the performative aspect, is highlighting stereotypical parts of feminine expression. Right,
it's kind of a caricature.
Are you saying it's sexist?
Yeah, it's like a caricature. Yeah, well, in some ways, yeah.
We should teach men to be sexist.
It's a bunch of guys, typically a bunch of like males, not trans people, just males, gay males, who are making like a caricature of like women, right? Like that's, I think in any other context, it'd be
it's parody. It's like the most flattering form, you know. That's what it is. Parody.
I don't think so.
In a lot of ways,
that's
drag
what it's supposed to be.
Blackface flattering?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
No, but that's not what it is.
Interesting topic. That is an interesting topic. So before we go forward, Nick brought up something very interesting. I want to say that for $2, Rob Dolan gave me $2 to say Papa took Fabio to the library. I don't know what that means, but thank you for the $2. Please give me more money. Thirdly, okay. Wait, not thirdly. Secondly, okay. Back to the topic. Nick just made a very interesting point. Is drag at all similar to blackface and minstrel shows?
Yeah. Well, historically it is.
Yes.
Like you literally can't deny that because historically.
Well, I think the question.
Part of drag,
I think the question
today,
would really boil down to who is what woman, like, truly is there any? There's no movement from any woman being like, this is horribly offensive to us as women.
You have one here.
Well, yeah. So there's no movement, like general, like there's no movement of women, right? Like there's a movement of black people that
get up and move.
Women don't have a voice in these spaces.
Women don't have voices in the LGBTQ space. Gay guys and women are like best friends all the time. What are you talking
about? God, straight.
Well, if we're talking on the online LGBTQ sphere, there is like definitely an issue with like, you know.
Stardust, what is your opinion? Do you feel mocked by drag?
Are we saying that like
I don't feel mocked by drag because but I also think that a lot of like cis women engage in like hyper exaggerations of feminine traits as well. But I do sometimes see I don't
think I see any woman ever complain about this.
From when they talk about how you'll see like trans women pass like better than cis women do a lot of the time and things like that. So I do kind of see where people are coming from with that, but I don't really know if that's really related to like the drag thing, you know. So
and I think that
I
think that's saying that there's like no movement or there's no like women against us, like
there's not.
So part of what TERFs are is this, right? They're not. It's not specifically against.
Well, before I just want to one thing before we. I just want to say there's a difference between being against it and calling it some kind of like blackface. Being against drag is different. It is different between calling it some form of like blackface, which nobody's doing that.
Yeah, okay,
it's like blackface, but it's good because women are inferior.
That's great.
Thanks.
So,
there's our
so this is part of what TERFs.
I think that was him.
Are like about, right?
No,
they're feminists who believe that men are not only invading female spaces, right? Because they don't consider trans women to be.
Yeah, he's talking about women. That's different from drag people, though.
But also that these men, in their trans expression, are making a mockery of women, right? Are reinforcing stereotypes about what a woman should be and what a woman should look like. Right. So this is part of what TERFs are, right? So to say that there's nothing like nobody against against drag queens, I think it's kind of silly.
Do you think if the stereotypes of women in society would change, the way that drag is expressed would change?
This frog,
sure.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. So do you think that maybe they're actually just reflecting the stereotypes and that maybe that just makes us a little uncomfortable?
Yeah, but that's what blackface does, right? Like typically.
I mean, drag does.
That's what
blackface
generally does in that.
Blackface is always like a yeah.
Well,
hold
it
on.
depends.
There were shows
serious,
that were about like mockery. Like, what do you?
There were
mockery,
serious actors who felt that they were doing an actual art form. So it wasn't.
It is mockery. It is mockery, but it is also a reflection of of stereotypes that they saw, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what blackface and these minstrel shows were. It was a reflection of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and there were actors that were high paid for their particular portrayals of black people in movies and cinema. So, and they thought that they were part of an art form, right? They thought that they were doing sort of like doing a graceful job of it, right? Mm-hmm. So, of course, from the outside, as a member of the community that is being caricatured, they didn't all feel that way. So,
I mean, blackface is bad.
So this could be the case. I don't really know what
debatable,
the
right, guys?
Like, I don't know. There may be a cultural shift over time where eventually a lot of women
it's really weird because nobody's
like,
really making
I don't really feel
this
comfortable
assertion.
with drag 'cause it's kind of mocking us. It's kind of playing up these stereotypes that we're tired of being tied to and tired of being held down by. Right? That could be the case.
I've never heard
I don't know what the how people currently feel, really, because I don't think we really
nobody
do surveys of this stuff.
Nobody expresses this.
I would assume that would extend to like
I don't know
drag
what the
kings
fuck
as
this
well, where you have like women stereotypically portraying men.
Bro, what the
I
fuck's
assume that would
happening
be
here?
like all around all forms of drag.
I'm sure, yeah,
like
it's
the way
possible.
that-
I just think that the exaggeration that like goes into
Why was there
drag
black people and
being
everything?
drag queens tends to be much more exaggeration.
Yeah, I'm a
I
little
like the way,
confused
the way
here.
that one SNL actor, she portrayed Justin Bieber doing like a commercial kind of thing, a mock commercial, and she's very much like playing up the stereotypes of Justin Bieber, but she did such a good job with it. It was almost convincing in a way. So I really appreciate that kind of stuff.
No, it was
when
a
I can
serious
see,
question.
like,
They're
male
comparing
impersonation
blackface
being
to
done so well,
drag.
even
I'm
though
very
it's sort of
confused.
a caricature.
We're all over the place with this
encompassing
conversation.
all these stereotypes of the person that they're caricaturing.
It looked like Nick was gonna say something.
Off the rails.
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of the drag queen stuff that I've seen is related to like recording artists or something. Apparently, with this
Yeah,
last
it is.
event, or like dressing up as like people.
Yeah,
from
that's
history and
that's
stuff.
historically how like drag usually manifests itself. It's mostly people or men dressing up like famous women that usually do music, and that's why it's become more sexualized, because music in it of itself has become more sexualized.
So yeah, but like that's considered powerful, even though it's like a caricature of that woman. So like, so why is like a Dua Lipa drag thing like powerful? But if I were to do drag as like Nicki Minaj, I'm racist.
Do it, Nick.
Do it. Say it.
Do it.
Say it.
I don't know if
Say
I don't know if anybody
Say the word, Nick.
I don't know if anybody's explored what do you call it, race bending. I really just don't know. I don't think I've seen any drag person. I think that people just generally think it's insensitive because of the history, especially in America with black people.
There was, I mean,
The
like I
intention is
haven't
to, like,
seen it in a
celebrate
modern day.
Nicki Minaj.
But drag was part of minstrel shows back in the day.
Oh,
right. So I mean, like
Yeah.
it's so like in the late 1800s and early 1900s, especially.
Dupa Lipa.
Like there were minstrel shows that were drag shows, both, right? So the two have been combined. I don't know that I've seen anybody do that now, because I feel like that would be like front page news for Fox News. Like,
yeah. And the reason this doesn't have is probably because like women, especially white women, are below black people on the oppression ladder, right?
Oh my god, this is getting very based very quickly.
I want to hear Rose speak.
Based.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Thank you for
This is
letting me
getting
have the
very,
floor. So first of all, I think that me genuinely identifying myself isn't mocking anyone. That's the reason why drag bothers me so much, is because that's, people see like, I think drag is mocking me. But anyway, when it comes to blackface, I think there's this worrying trend that's occurred where people will, this isn't super common, I'll admit, but I saw this happen in 2020 with George Floyd. People were literally, there was a trend on TikTok, people were painting their face black with like the Black Lives Matter power fist and like doing it for Black Lives Matter. And when I see that, that's how I view drag personally. I view it as mocking me in that same way. I feel like drag is if blackface was allowed to exist and pretend to be this woke thing when it's really this offensive thing. That's all I have to say.
Well, I think people on the internet.
I'm
Oh, sorry.
I'm
go ahead.
empathetic.
fucking horseshoe
I'm-
theory. Let's go.
I'm empathetic to that position as well. As a matter of fact, Rose was the one who kind of opened me to that.
I got
concept
steamrolled. Yes.
on Twitter actually, and I hadn't really thought of it in that.
So we've
from
determined
that
here,
perspective
guys.
before.
I'm gonna mute
Like,
this person
I never
because
liked
I
drag
don't care about
myself.
women. But
I always felt that it was
we've basically gone from talking about how it could be harmful to do drag to drag is racist. So
to be stereotypes that kind of hold
incredible.
us back, right, and hold women back in general. And so I never really liked it because of that. But then after having a conversation with Rose on Twitter, she opened me to the idea of like how blackface was seen similarly to be like this, it is taking certain stereotypes and propping them up and doing it as an art form, as a performance art, right? And at some point we decided, okay, well, that's not appropriate. And how come? And so it got me thinking, asking that question, like, why haven't we gotten to the point of saying this isn't appropriate for drag? I'm not necessarily completely
This is
against
bizarre.
drag, right? But I'm very empathetic to that position. And I know me personally, I never liked it because I felt that it does that very thing.
I have something to kind of
I
expand
don't
on
think
that.
I don't think it's that deep.
Yeah, no, I think it's really annoying because, like, through the 20th century, mainly in the 19th century, LGBT spaces, at least in America, as far as I know, the public image of them was relegated to like a fetish by cis gay men. And so that's why the kind of LGBT community got routed through little bars and BDSM club type things and a whole other community and all that, which was great to have as a safe haven. But it's really annoying because drag was absolutely a part of that. The charitable interpretation is that for a lot of gay men, I'm sure growing up and being called feminine or less of a man led to more of a willingness and almost empowering rejection of that. Like, see, I can dress up. As
do you guys want to do, Nick, do you guys want to do an Act Man panel right after this panel's over?
A lot of misogyny, a lot of stereotyping.
We could probably do that.
Cis gay men spaces can absolutely be pretty misogynistic. It's sort of infamous in like lesbian community.
Sister gay men.
It's kind of annoying. And it seems that it's really frustrating these days when I think the primary issue that like stuff like Pride needs to focus on is like trans youth, especially trying to just be like, look, this is a thing, you know, to sort out with social
I'll probably give this like another
medical help where it's needed.
Maybe 40
and
minutes
it's really
tops.
Annoying to have to constantly still all the LGBT community fight against this spotlight on such a niche subcultural thing from gay man culture that's often sexualized and often misogynistic. And I hate that we all have to have an opinion on this and make this a thing because it does kind of suck and it does take over conversations. And it's not representative of the LGBT community at all. Certainly not me.
Yeah, that was another area where you and I both agreed and like both found common ground on. Is
I didn't even listen to what she said, honestly.
It sort of dominates the conversation. Like the LGBT community is more than just what it was originally kind of shoehorned into by our heteronormative society, which, as Pixie stated, was about like being homosexual meant it was sort of like a kink or a fetish, right? And so you do have there's a point where any kind of social progression needs to sort of break its original boundaries or its original confines. Its original confines are often going to be when it's a persecuted group, it's going to be sort of like leaning into the persecution and playing it up as like, yeah, you can't crush me with your persecution. You can't destroy me with your persecution. And so the Pride movement was about being loud and proud about the things that they were being shunned for and the things they were being labeled as and the things that they were being pigeonholed as. But at some point you get to a point where you get broader acceptance and you have to start including and lifting up the diversity within your group and showing that you're more than just those things that you were pigeonholed as originally 50 years ago, right? And that's where I think, like, I know Pixie and I both kind of were breaking bread.
I think
on
he's
that,
making a
both
fist.
agreeing with that.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be
Black Lives
easier
Matter.
to do if you didn't have cis white men like the ones on this panel, aside from Scott because he's half black, defending defending the bad actors, right? Defending these kind of people who are doing this pretty like blatantly fucked up shit in front of children, who are inviting children to a space and then making that space sexual in some way. Right? Wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't it be easier, right, if these cis white allies weren't twisting themselves into pretzels to defend this shit?
Yes, absolutely. I'm tired of acting like to defend that is to defend myself.
Do you think they should apologize to you?
Sure.
What am I apologizing for?
Mr. Gutt and Mr. Canadian go.
Wait, hold on. What were we talking about? What was I apologizing for?
Yeah, what am I apologizing for? Sorry.
not you, Scott.
No, it's about the gay men who are performing.
No, not the gay men.
Drag queens, right?
The cis white allies who defend this kind of bullshit and make the rest of the community look really.
What am I
because
defending?
They want the virtue signal.
Where's the white coming from?
Who wants the virtue signal? I look like the most conservative redneck in the fucking world.
Mr. Gutt and Critical Canadian. I'm calling them virtue signalers.
If
twisting themselves into pretzels.
What virtue did I say?
Ironically, I think you signaled your lack of virtue, but I think you were intending to signal like your tolerance virtue.
What's my
what virtue am I missing?
By asking dumbass questions like what's sexual about this thing?
Everybody shut up and let Doobie finish. Sorry, Doobie, continue.
Okay, so what led up to this was
I'm muting people, I swear to God.
was a very friendly conversation that Mr. Canadian and I had on Twitter, right?
Wow, that's
where
incredible.
he was asking really dumb questions, right? Like
history.
he did a bit in this panel. Like, what's sexual about this? You know, well, if they were wearing something else, it would be sexual. What's sexual about children giving dollar bills to people dancing? It's giving a dollar bill sexual. This kind of really stupid nonsense, right? Where we try to separate what's going on from all the context surrounding it, right? To try to find some way to make this okay. Just accept that it's fucked up. Say that it's fucked up. Say the parents they shouldn't have taken their fucking kids there.
I think everybody said that already.
No, he didn't. Right, and I think you earlier.
No,
were looking for ways to give this a pass.
No, I wasn't. I literally said, I think even like my opening statement where I made a really funny joke and none of you laughed, which is by the way very offensive.
You're not funny.
Well, you know what? That's subjective. Okay, it's just
I actually wonder. I actually do wonder.
Hold on. I be lurking on Papa.
Hold on.
See?
He's funny.
What are you doing? Talking over me? I'm the moderator here. This is bullshit.
But the drag thing taught me that misogyny is fine. So shut up.
Yeah, no. That's what I've learned. That's what I've learned. Okay, we're teaching children misogyny, and
Good.
It's totally okay.
We've always
been.
been.
What we really need? We really need Stardust at those drag shows.
Why did everything shift around?
Shows to keep the kids safe.
Can we get the leave to apologize?
Right, I want to know what I'm apologizing for, because we started off and what I said is
he
wants
me to apologize.
Oh, okay. Me too.
To the leaf.
You too. But
what am I
first the leaf? I'll get to you.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently he wants me to apologize for asking questions.
Apologize.
Hang on. I let you speak. I let you speak. I let you speak. Okay, let me speak. Okay, I didn't realize I have to fight this hard to even get one sentence out before you just jump down my throat, right? When I ask you what's sexual about it, right? I'm trying to understand your perspective about what makes this sexual. Because when I ask is a nudist colony, can I fucking finish? When I ask, is a nudist colony sexual, right? And we realize that there are people within that community that are going to view sexuality and sex very different from probably the general population. I want to know what your definition and your understanding
of
sexualizing something is.
That's insane. Are you neurodivergent?
Maybe I am. So what? What if I want to ask you?
Because these are the two options
so I can actually understand.
So either you're socially impaired and you probably shouldn't be having this conversation in the first place because you just lack the tools to
I wonder if this guy's
or
this guy's
you're twisting yourself into pretzels, pretending you don't know what's sexual about this and the context that we're speaking about it in.
Or maybe I'm trying to gauge your understanding of what actually makes something sexual. I think it's because I think it's a little too. I think you're a little too jumping the gun when it comes to over sexualizing things that look like women.
It's just this really edgy frog guy who won't even show his face, having to fucking try to trigger people.
Look, if you think the overwhelming majority of drag isn't sexual, then you're fucking high.
And this is my question: what was sexual about it? Is it the women's clothing? Is it the dancing? Is it the money changing hands?
To apologize for, Doobie.
Exactly this. Right. Pretend either I'm left with two options. Either you're very socially impaired,
either you're autistic, or you're spinning yourself into a pretzel.
Then you probably shouldn't be having these conversations in the first place. So that's option one. Option two is you're doing the virtue signal thing, where you're pretending you don't know what's wrong with this picture, right? That everybody else here knows is wrong, right? And you're saying, hey, well, what's sexual? Is licking inherently sexual? What's sexual about tongues? What's sexual about an
Why can't you just answer the question? If it's such an easy question for you to answer, why can't you just be like, boom, see, there it is, fucking owned by.
Can I step in really quick?
Sure.
I think what Critical Canadians is saying is you may not be wrong, but I think what he's asked, the reason he's asking these questions is because he doesn't think that you know what you're talking about, because you're dodging questions, and then you don't seem to know what you're talking about because you just keep talking about pretzels and getting hungry.
So if I were to point out if Mr. Scott here were to start masturbating in front of a child, right, and I said, hey, that's wrong, Scott, don't masturbate in front of children. Would you ask me, hey, why do you think that's wrong? What's wrong with
why do you think that's wrong? Give me your answer on that.
Who the fuck was masturbating?
Again, this is
I
have no
but this is the thing. Right?
So
because
if I would say, hey, rape is bad. If I were to say, hey, rape is bad, you shouldn't rape people. You would say, hey, well, what's wrong with rape? Is some kind of force to hold.
It's funny. When we talked about this on Twitter, you also use. I'm pretty sure you use the comparison of a drag show and a strip club, and you use that comparison, right? And that fundamentally shows that you do not understand what it means to sexualize something, and this is why I asked those questions.
Well, I mean, drag people don't usually strip because then they don't look like a drag person.
So I'm referring to this as
I can explain all of this. You could ask me, hey,
to a strip club where you have
why is masturbating
provocatively
in front of a kid wrong? And I can answer that for you. But the issue is you don't ask questions, you just make assumptions.
Why is it wrong?
It's
for the
wrong
Canadian?
because you are performing a sex act in which you are using the child
What
potentially.
makes it sexual?
Hey, I'm trying to answer, Stardust. Okay, Jesus, I didn't realize I had to fight with the mod either.
Somebody over here using the word in the definition.
Guys, there's a lot of white people. There's a lot of white people taking over this conversation. Straight white cisgender men.
Inherently sexual. What's sexual about a penis?
No, because for a nudist colony, it isn't. A nudist colony isn't inherently
so
sexual.
The penis isn't inherently sexual. Touching my penis isn't inherently. I touch my penis to pee. That's not sexual. Right?
Yeah.
So touching my penis is inherently sexual. Having my dick out. Sometimes I have my dick out to change clothes. That's not inherently sexual. So touching my penis, having it out next to a child, what's sexual about a child? Nothing sexual about a child. So doing all those
things, get dressed at a swimming pool
I
whatsoever.
gotta go, guys.
You know,
I gotta
stupid.
leave.
You seriously are you a never nude when you go to a fucking swimming pool? You're like, oh shit, I gotta keep the fucking towel on if some other guy sees my dick.
Why would I be
What the
nude
fuck's
at a
happening,
swimming
bro?
pool with
Have you never changed in like a public area around a swimming pool?
What the
not
fuck's
around
happening?
children?
You know what? I'm
men's
cutting
change-
it off.
Take out my
I'm
dick
cutting
around
it off,
children.
guys. I'm cutting it off
Holy
because
shit.
Rose is
I'm
raising
starting
her
to think
hand
you've
very
never been
nicely.
outside.
I think you're literally
Excuse
autistic.
you. I'm moderating right now. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
First
Oh
off,
my God.
somebody gave me $1.99 to say, "Can you tell Doobie I said to demote Masakim?" I don't know what this is.
Oh my
If this is
God.
your stupid
This
mod
is
shit with your
insane.
fucking Discord
At least this is
server.
entertaining.
Then
Finally.
the other person gave me $1.99 to say, "Why do so many people put critical in their name?" I don't know. Why are you super chatting me? I demand an apology in the form of super chats. I demand an apology from every single person in chat. Hashtag apologize to Stardust. Sorry. Okay. Thank you for the $10 on you. Also, Rose, go ahead.
Okay.
So first,
Oh, too many voices.
okay. So first of all, the
Happy
question.
Food Month.
I'm getting a fucking
The
headache.
question being asked was why a nudist colony is sexual. I'm going to say why I think so. First of all, I think
'Cause it makes you
that
horny.
a lot of it is based on the culture I was raised in, right? There are some cultures where it's not sexual,
Makes
and
me
I can
horny.
understand that they have a different experience. But in my culture, where I live, the only time that people we see are naked is when they're having sex, usually most of the time. And so when you see someone in a nudist culture,
I'm
my
always
brain
naked around the
automatically jumps to that is sexual because that's the only time you ever see somebody naked. So even though there is no intent of sexual intentions, probably of those people at the nude beach, I still tend to see it that way because of my own cultural experience. That is my
Hold
personal.
on, but is
Yeah, which is
masturbating near a
answer to the
child?
question when I ask
Is
you what is sexual
masturbating near
about
a
it.
child?
Yeah,
sexual?
awesome.
Is masturbating near a child okay? Like, what's wrong with that? Inherently.
How old is the person masturbating?
Oh boy.
30 years old, the child's 5 years old. They might not
Yeah.
even know what masturbation is.
That's probably wrong. Yeah, because you're jerking off
Why?
in front of a kid.
What if the child is asleep?
'Cause-
What if the child is asleep?
It's still
what
wrong.
if they're awake looking at your dick while you're jerking off?
I think
But
both of those are
they're
still
4 or
wrong.
5 years old.
Because you're
They're 4 or 5 years
jerking.
old. They don't know what masturbation is. They don't know what
Because
you're
you're jerking off in front of a kid. Yeah, what does that have to do with
What's wrong
it?
with that?
Well,
Hold on.
Is it like an
We just went
epidemic
through
of
this.
drag queens jerking
touching my
off near
penis?
kids?
Touching my penis is not inherently sexual.
Well, you're not saying
Like,
touching
what-
your penis. You're saying jerking off. Those are two different words. So,
saying
This
masturbating.
conversation
Touching
is
and
not
masturbating.
way
We're
too
gonna
a
be-
future for me.
Sometimes after I take, so I've got foreskin,
We're
right?
gonna be
I'm one of the
on
intact
this.
ones. I'm one of the hooded ones,
okay.
right? So like sometimes I have to pull my foreskin back to pee. Is that sexual?
I mean, if you enjoy it, maybe, but probably not because you're just peeing.
So moving your hand along your penis isn't inherently sexual.
Sure, I guess. I don't know. If you're
You're
using
an
it to
idiot.
pee, I don't know what you're talking. What are you talking about?
Dumbass questions. When you ask these dumbass
Holy
questions, right? You're either autistic
What-
or you're
can I-
you're
can I-
twisting yourself into circles,
do you-
right? To try to virtue signal.
It's not a bad question. You're all just bad at answering it.
It's your listen.
Something is sexual if you're inciting sexual pleasure in yourself or someone else. If that's
Okay,
what
there
you're
you go.
trying to do, then it's sexual. If you're in a
Okay.
nudist colony or a third world country where they don't wear clothes,
This is
for climate
fucking
reasons,
insane, bro.
that's fine, right? In America, you could even have kinky sex where both partners are clothed, but there's very fucking sexual.
This
right?
person is
Someone can
very-
make someone else come just by snapping their fingers. Like it's not about that. It's just, are you trying to derive sexual pleasure from this? And if you're jerking off around a kid and the kid's not involved and like they're not doing their own thing, you know, and you're doing that, you are sexualizing the child, and that's not okay. That's exploiting them. That's using them in an action that the child cannot understand or consent to. That's why it's
Wait,
wrong.
hold on. What if I'm watching like adult porn and the child just happens to be there?
Is
looking
the
at my
reason
dick
why
while
you're
I'm
being
jerking
so fucking annoying because your friend's watching or something? You're actually so performative that you're grinding this
off?
conversation.
No, I'm not being performative. You
Just
fucking
answer a
baboon.
fucking
What I'm
question.
saying is that when Critical Canadian asks me these really dumbass questions, hey, what's
But it
sexual
wasn't dumb
about
because
drag
Rose can
drag
answer
kids-
easily.
Drag kids,
Easily.
drag
Nick
kids
fucking owned
to
him,
pride
bro.
bar shit.
That's exactly what I was thinking,
What's
bro.
sexual about the situation? You ask me dumbass questions like that. Again,
Well, he was
either
asking it
autistic
because dancing
or
isn't inherently
reverse sexual.
sexual. That's what he
Because
was
I think
asking.
everybody. We're not talking about just dancing.
Doobie,
We're talking
you've
about
been
dancing
ranting.
in this dress. Sorry, in this outfit, in front of the fucking sign with the dollar bills, doing the
Yeah, the
splits with your
sign.
fucking
I think a
ass
lot of
out
us had a
in front
problem
of
with the sign
fucking
too.
children.
Yeah.
We all understand that that's what we're talking about. So when he's just saying, "Hey, well, what's
dollar bills is a different
inherently
thing.
sexual
No, but
with
see,
wearing this kind of outfit?"
the
It's
problem-
fucking stupid. What
Okay,
you're
okay,
trying
okay.
to do is distract from the actual conversation.
Okay, so I think everybody came in here and said that they found it inappropriate, the setting that this whole thing happened at.
Critical Canadian didn't say that.
Okay.
You've
well,
never asked me. You've never asked. Ask
yes,
me.
I
No,
did.
ask me.
Yes,
Ask
I did.
me.
I asked you on
Ask
Twitter.
me.
I asked you
Ask
on
me.
Twitter where you
Ask
tried
me
to
right now.
where you tried to
Yeah,
compare
right
it to
here.
burlesque in
Ask
a
me.
positive way. Say,
Right.
oh, well, this is
Yes.
just like burlesque.
Just
And I pointed
ask.
out that,
Take a
hey,
little frog mouth and
burlesque,
ask me.
burlesque is sexual. What the fuck are you talking about? And then you
Hey,
said, oh, well,
CC,
hey, I
is
didn't
this
know
an
burlesque was
inappropriate setting? Yeah, because like it obviously the double entendre on the wall could definitely be misconstrued by kids.
Well, it would
The fact
be.
that it is at a bar is a little weird, but although in Alberta you're allowed to bring kids to a bar until I think it's like 9 p.m. So depending on the state laws, it could be weird. Once again, the cultural aspect, right? Is the setting the greatest place?
Yeah,
No, is it better settings? Yeah, absolutely.
In a lot of
Blackface
countries, bars
sexual.
are actually a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Is blackface sexual?
The problem is you don't ask questions.
What
You
the
just
fuck
assume.
is that question?
Blackface is
Hold on,
totally
because
sexual.
I
That's why
assume that the person I'm
disapprove of it.
speaking to has like a normal level of like social understanding, right?
Yeah, I would too on how to
That's
answer
the
questions,
issue.
but apparently I was wrong. My bad.
I answered your questions, and then you went further, right? So in one second. So the double entendre. What do you? So it's not going to lick itself. It's not a double entendre. Like, what do you think they're talking about?
Wait, if that was an ice cream shop,
Kill
would that be a
myself.
It's
double
not an ice cream
entendre?
shop.
It's not
It's
an ice
not
cream
I'm just
shop.
asking you.
Fucking
What
bar.
Even if it was at an ice cream shop,
right?
even
This isn't a fucking bar.
even if it was at an ice cream shop, it would still be sexual because you're trying to
I
you're
looked it
trying
up.
to
Mister
do that.
is a bar. It's a bar.
It's literally
It
a bar.
is.
It's not an ice cream shop. So why would you bring that up?
I know it's not, but I just said if it wasn't an ice cream shop, it would be.
If it was
it'd
in
be
if
very
it was in
clear
an
to anyone
airplane,
he
it
on
would
saw-
have changed.
Because he
Okay.
saw people on Twitter make that, and he's just throwing out questions.
No, I don't think it was an
all
ice cream
over.
bar. Once again, you don't even ask, right? I use it as an example.
Yeah,
Why would the
innuendo.
fuck would
Thank
you
you.
say that it's a double entendre and ask me about an ice cream shop? If it
I'm
were an
saying that
airplane, it
sign
would be any
specifically
different.
could very well be used as a double entendre, but the setting
not
that it's
there.
in. Again,
That's
let
not
me
what we're
finish,
talking
Doobie.
about. You
Doobie,
fucking
listen.
idiot.
Doobie, listen. But the setting that it's in probably isn't
Nice
the greatest
aspirin.
setting to have. But here's a question: if they would have covered that sign, would it have been okay then?
No, for all the other reasons, right? So it'd be
Okay, what are the
it'd
other
be-
reasons? The dancing,
It'd
right?
be more
the
okay,
clothes,
right?
and the
So
money.
If we were,
Here's
if
a
we were like
question for you.
100%, it'd be
If
like at
salsa
90%.
dancers were dancing on the street in very like revealing clothing together and accepting tips from the public, would that be inappropriate?
It depends, like how revealing their clothing is, right? So if you took your kid to Carnival where people were dancing with like
Right.
titty tassels, probably not a good idea, right?
Okay,
So
well,
it
So,
really
wait.
specifically
depends.
salsa dancing. Salsa dancing is usually
Salsa
like
dancing
dresses
isn't
that are
always
very
sexual.
skin tight.
I want to ask a question. So
Salsa dancing is very sexual.
It's
It is
not
meant to
always sexual.
seduce the two dancers together. Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Excuse me,
no,
point of
yes.
privilege.
What do you mean by sexual? What
That
do you
the,
mean by
the whole
seduce?
point is to get
What do you
is
mean
to
by
have
dance?
I want to
be a
ask a question.
sexual object that you're trying to seduce that person into having like love making sex with you.
You think when salsa dancers dance with each other, they're trying to seduce each other into sex?
Yes, that is what a salsa
Well,
dancing
then-
is.
Then again, I'm going back to you're a social retard or the
Okay,
autistic.
I must be. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Can I jump in here?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So when it comes to the conversation we're having about sexualization, you brought up like the tipping and the dancing, right? And the provocative clothing. I think a lot of issues that people have isn't that they disagreed that some of those things they're sexual. It's that you wouldn't have the same energy if it wasn't a gay guy dressed like a girl.
Wait, hold on. What?
This is something that's happening constantly in music, and nobody really gives a shit. But now we're trying to create legislation.
We
to
covered
Plenty of people
women
give a
covered that
shit.
early on.
No.
Hold on.
You covered saying I don't agree with that either. But there isn't this huge social push to try to ban drag.
Oh yeah.
Like so we don't have the same proportionate amount of energy. So clearly, there's more. You're more outraged by this because it's gay dudes dressed
We're
like
not
girls.
banning
So now
kids
we're
from
allowed to
pop
bring up the
concerts.
context. Are we?
Yeah, I guess we're allowed to bring
now
the
allowed to
context
bring
here.
up the context
Guess
because
so.
before I
Well, it's
wasn't allowed
relevant
to bring it
context.
up, right? The relevant
We're even
context
talking about
here-
teachers trying to groom kids. That's
yes,
not relevant
it's
to
very
drag.
fucking obvious. It's one portion of like when you only talk about kids at drag shows and you say no, you can't bring up the social contagion that may or may not be occurring. You can't bring up what they're doing to your children. You can't bring up drag time story hour.
Well, I said you
that's
could
happening in
after we
schools.
satisfied like the drag. But that's the thing is like the
Right, but
fundamental
this is-
conversation
but
about
this is-
drag is what
but
we're
this is-
having. And
but this is what makes
camera's getting all fucked up.
So much more relevant. You're asking, why do we have a why do we have a stigma against one thing and not against the other? Well, because music videos on fucking TV or on the internet can easily be taken away from the children, right? The parent can say, don't do that, right? And that's one aspect. And maybe they're still exposed to it when, when they're on the school bus and like another kid has wet ass pussy or something. And it's like, oh my God, this is the greatest song, right? And they're like, Jesus, like your kid shouldn't be exposed to that. I understand that. What the problem with gender bending, performative dances and culture being brought to our children is the greater social construct, because many parents feel that their children are under assault. Many parents feel that these things are not just isolated incidents, like one fucking group of bad parents going to a bar, but they're looking at a larger change in the culture that makes them feel like their children are under threat. And it's not an absurd position to think that when you add when you add that context. So yes, is Dua Lipa with her ass out, or like some hip hop video that, since they've fucking existed been, fucking problematic towards women's bodies, or other things, or like Hooters. I know everyone loves to talk about Hooters, right? Like as if like we would somehow say that it's okay to bring your kid to Hooters. It's not. But like any of these other things as isolated incidents, right, are it's fine to look at that way. But if you don't put it in the broader social context, I don't think you understand why there's such a strong reaction to the drag shows as opposed to other performative things that kids probably shouldn't be around.
Okay, I get what you're saying. You're saying that it's very in our culture now, like LGBTQ shit, right? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
I wouldn't say it's LGBTQ shit. I mean, for some conservatives, yeah, for sure, right? Like some conservatives are just going to be against that. But I would say that the idea of like social transitioning of children in public schools and things like that, and then they see Drag Queen Story Hour, and then they see this push for like transgender stuff, and they know that it's happening on the internet, and so they're very afraid that their children are going to be fucked up in some way by this. And so it's not just me seeing other parents at an event, it's the greater context of like, Jesus Christ, what's happening to our culture that is shocking people in such a degree.
So, which kind of brings us all the way back to the social conditioning thing we were talking about earlier, right? With like 40% of Gen Z kids in California identifying as LGBT, right? So this is what people are reacting to.
Just let me burp. Give me a second. Okay, so
if you were to, I know it would have been a beautiful burp. It would have been a beautiful burp.
The first thing I want to say is I think that we're underestimating how present like sexualization outside of LGBTQ is present in like everything, all media, Instagram, TikTok. So I think that I think that it's a reasonable argument to make that we'll say LGBTQ presentation, or how would you, whatever you'd want to word it as, representation is just as present as like any type of sexualization across the media. That's where I'm talking about when it comes to a disproportionate amount of like energy being dedicated to have the conversation about LGBTQ. That's the first thing, because then you talk about schools. A lot of people online are very afraid because online feels like everything, but the reality is most of the world isn't living in the online world. I mean, would they say like 96% of Twitter lives in like a very small isolated area that's mostly like the Northeast of the United States, at least. So I would say that, and then also with the social conditioning aspect, with the social conditioning, like I think that it's a lot of people like, yeah, there is a social aspect. I just don't understand why it's so bad and why we have so much energy against this and not all this energy against the other sexualization. Like it fundamentally seems like we just have an issue with kids fucking around with their gender. Is that pretty much what the problem is?
No. Okay. So when Cuties was out, right? Hold on. When Cuties was out, right? When it came out on Netflix, there's a huge backlash to that, right? The children being presented in a sexual way, children acting dancing sexually. So the backlash exists on both sides.
Well, yeah, but I think that movie was trying to call that out.
It was.
Yeah,
it was
I understand.
Money.
Hold on. So I understand like what the movie was actually about, when the message of the movie, right? But the knee-jerk reaction from I think most people was, hey, this is fucked. We shouldn't have a movie where kids are twerking. Right, separate from any kind of genderqueer shit.
Well, also America used different marketing, and there was questions about the director, and I mean, I think some of it was a bit of a moral panic in some regards, but the way it was marketed, I think, clearly showed that they were trying to appeal to the idea that these young girls were sexualized.
Yeah, ironically, they were pushing. The message of the film is kind of the message of Scott and I are like pushing, like, hey, if you put this up in front of children, they're gonna mimic this stuff because this is how children model their own behavior. They model it based on what they see adults doing.
They could.
Right?
Well, okay, so but there's another issue too, is that we have like cheerleading, beauty pageants are super normalized across the entire United States, very sexualized, sets every kid up for like
they're fucking gross.
Yeah, but like, see, like nobody
cheerleading outfits. Are fucking, like,
nobody
really
gives a shit. Like people are like, oh, that's kind of gross, but nobody actually cares. And yet we see like one drag show. That's for kids, which is inappropriate. I don't like the fact that it's targeted at kids. All of a sudden, we're having like a meltdown, and we're talking about legislation to ban drag for kids. Yeah. But you see how we only care. It seems like we only care because it's gay people that are doing it.
It's not because it's gay people. It's one is normalized and one is normalized and the other isn't normalized. But also, again, this is why I brought up the greater context, right? Because one is a movement that is designed. I mean, like, read the fucking research on transformative social emotional learning, and you will see that gender ideology is explicitly tied to collectivist philosophy, to destroying capitalism, to destroying the idea of gender, to destroying colorblind constitutional law, and to bringing down Western society.
Do you think that's what drag people are doing, though? Like
that's not what drag people.
I feel like we're getting a little deep. I know what you're saying. There are people that tie those together, but that doesn't mean those things are inherently tied. But there are people who tie them together through particular philosophy.
Right. But you're making the claim, well, I think we just care because it's gay people. And I'm saying there are other legitimate fears here that people are like, what the fuck is going on with our culture and society?
I don't know.
And yes, the other is still wrong, but it's normalized.
I feel like I've seen the sexualization of cheerleaders for decades. I've seen the sexualization of schoolgirls for decades.
This person looks like they're making an Ahigo face.
Where it's like a schoolgirl outfit is involved or a cheerleader outfit is involved. And you can't tell me that these girls who have barely gone through puberty are not being sexualized in the dance routines that
nobody's saying that
every day.
I think you're right, Nick.
Much more often.
It's fun though.
Much more often than the drag stuff. Much more often.
Right. Nobody's saying that.
Are you afraid that is it making you horny? Is that why you're afraid of it?
I'm not afraid.
Not the kids, not the kids, the drag.
Oh, dude, I have said on stream multiple times that, like, I love trans people. You can call me a fucking chaser all you want. If you pass as a girl, I'll suck the soul out of your dick. I don't give a fuck. And, and furthermore, I actually have a drag show based off of Mulan that I kind of write and stuff that I would really love to do one day, but it'd have to be secret because Disney are some motherfuckers and they'll immediately come after you on copyright. What we're talking about is whether or not we're exposing children to ideas, identity, gender, and sexual themes that they're not ready for. So no, it's not a fear of homophobia for me.
They're getting exposed to it anyway. It's just a heteronormative version of it, right?
True.
So,
two wrongs don't make a right.
Effectively, two heteronormative parents are grooming their children to be heteronormative, right?
No. That's
I would use the word conditioning, but if I was somebody if I did throw the word grooming around a lot, then I would use the word grooming. But personally,
I gave you a specific definition of grooming.
I feel like I did want to ask, every day.
I did want to ask, the problem with using the word grooming is it can either, if you try to apply it to this and it makes it easy to apply it to so many other things. And we have a lot of issues these days with I
gave a definition of grooming and people are ignoring it now. I said that it requires triangulation from parents in order to bring people into a sexual identity, religion, cult, political ideology.
Are you saying that it
requires love bonding and special attention?
It sounds like what you're saying. It requires intent
to it.
Yeah, well, that's what it says. It sounds like you're saying that, but I don't think people are intending to do that to people. I think that they're just exposing them to what they like. That's most. That's what most parents do.
I haven't called anyone a groomer as of yet, except for specific systems in the public education that have engaged in the things that fit my definition that I gave.
I think conditioning.
I haven't called drag queen stuff like groomers. I never said that.
Okay.
I've just only called it inappropriate and then added the larger context of why people are afraid, why people don't want to do it, and why you shouldn't bring your kids there.
Should we legislate it away from people? The ability.
I'm an anarchist. I wouldn't say we should.
Because I think
I'd say yes.
I would say that it's okay for everybody to have their own prejudice. Honestly, I wouldn't want to take my kid to a drag show either. Probably not rational, but I just don't. Especially my boy. when I have kids, I just don't want my boy to be more feminine, and that's probably
when I have kids.
Oh,
it's always when I have kids. On these fucking,
I understand this
panels. It's always when I have kids. Who the fuck here has kids beside me?
Listen,
besides me, who's got kids? All right, Critical Canadian does.
Cat.
No, I don't have kids. I'm fucking.
Cats don't count. I'm
I
sorry.
think it's okay to have your prejudices as long as you don't try to force them onto society. Because I don't think you could come up with like a real, truly harmful narrative when it comes to like conditioning people to be LGBTQ.
I think society and making up like the social construct is about forcing your prejudices onto people around you. Like, so it's fine.
I fucking hate frogs so much.
That's okay.
But wait, if you want your son to be masculine, isn't that exactly what Fabian here is saying, but just in the other direction?
Like, conditioning my kid to be more masculine. Yeah, I'm saying I'm saying that I have a prejudice in some capacity, but I wouldn't assert it onto everybody else. I just really wouldn't want my kid in general to be feminine.
But you're still then asserting it onto your kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, I don't know what your point is when you're asking me that question.
Well, I mean, it's saying it's bad to do to other people, and then you're saying you do it to your kid.
When did I say it was bad to do to other people?
You're talking about it's bad to push your prejudices on other people.
This is a false dichotomy.
I was talking about how you shouldn't put like just from a societal perspective, you shouldn't like push your prejudices in that capacity. Like just because I have my own prejudices, that doesn't mean that I should make everybody have the same prejudice by legislating the lack of access to like drag shows.
Still that imposing influence to change the outcome of people develop.
This is a complete false dichotomy. To compare your ideas of what masculinity is or isn't, and to say that you want to teach your children and instill.
I think she wants my kid to be gay.
Certain temperament and certain things, like certain values that you have, as opposed to whether or not, as opposed to whether or not individuals can be socially transitioned to another gender, and that has obviously shown massive rates of suicidality, massive levels of trauma and things of that nature.
That gets
might go through V-trans, right? Like there's a whole other fucking hornet's nest of shit that is different than saying socializing someone into your idea of masculinity, and then like socializing them in such a way that might cause them to be improperly fucking transitioned.
Are you
okay, Scott?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I want to try this hypothetical.
So I'm talking.
What if a father believes?
I wanted to talk about sorry, I'm gonna mute this because I want to talk to my streamer very least about it. It sounds like what he's saying is that like if somebody identifies as LGBTQ, they're going to identify with all the oppression of it in some capacity. But I think most people, in that community, like those issues aren't necessarily inherent, or a lot of people at times I think people are self-diagnosing like, oh, I'm non-binary because they have some other kind of body image issue. Not every time. And then I think that he's trying to say that if you make somebody gay, that's going to make them suicidal when that's not the case.
Being able to like view the world in reality, because it sounds like this person belongs maybe in a mental institution.
I should have listened. Though.
If he thinks that's peak masculinity.
Yeah, well, he's probably got mental issues. He probably needs help.
That's based on the way that you're viewing masculinity right now.
Sorry,
but these terms are constantly changing, right? What we thought of as masculinity 100 years ago is different from what we see it as today.
Yeah, in 100 years ago, if he thought high heels were appropriate, right, because they were based on
this frog would be super gay.
400 years ago.
Well, yeah. Military uniforms would have still been that way, like Cossack inspired, like 200 years ago. But yeah, you're right.
Years ago for that,
but fair enough, right? If you thought peak masculinity was relevant in the social context, yes. If the relevant social context is that masculinity is flowy dresses and makeup, right? Then I don't see an issue there. But if we're talking about in the current context, peak masculinity is makeup and dresses. It sounds like you're talking about someone that's like really not adapted to being an parent.
Yeah,
because they don't understand.
200 years from now, that could be peak masculinity, right?
And if that's what peak masculinity is, then there's no mental issue there.
But how do you think it got from 200 years ago to today?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you
little by little, like, what we understand to be masculinity and femininity are changing constantly.
Yeah, we're all over the place.
That is a complete aside from, and again, you're re-engaging in the false dichotomy. That is a complete aside from trying to actively take your children to things that are engaged in gender bending, and as opposed to what do we represent masculinity and femininity with in the social fabric of today's society, or what it was in the past. Like you're comparing apples and oranges.
I think I'm finally understanding what he's saying.
I think
he's trying to say it's confusing.
And does an interesting.
Kate McKinnon is. I'm sorry.
Kate McKinnon is an SNL actor, and yet she does male impersonation, and she does it very effectively. She's the one who did the Justin Bieber impersonation on SNL, and she is somebody who, normally the way that she often looks is she looks feminine, but she will play these masculine roles and she will do it very, very effectively. And this is something that, it's not like, well, she'll imbue some sexuality into it for the role at times, depending on the character that she's playing. But it's like something that is just sort of, she's good at it. And we don't really see this as being a problem. Right.
But that's not because you don't let your toddler watch SNL. Like there's an age appropriate time that you watch SNL.
Kids
there's
watch SNL.
There's intentional racist jokes that the news report, I forget what it's called, the Josh and oh my God, what is it? Shay, I can't remember his last name. Michael Che, sorry. They write each other's jokes to be intentionally offensive and racist for each other, right? Like this is not something that you would bring your toddler to. Like this is what we're talking about, is that it's not appropriate for certain
ages. But a toddler I don't think knows dick about shit. Young kids still watch SNL all the time. You know what I mean?
You shouldn't let your 8-year-old watch SNL.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't, but like if I did, nobody would really give a shit. But if you have your 8-year-old watch a drag show, we're gonna legislate against it. You know what I mean? Like we care more about.
Have you been to a drag show, Papa?
I was watching.
I can't wait.
I was watching.
You should
SNL
go.
when I was
and they're super sexual.
I'm sure they are, but I'm sure there could also be non-sexual drag shows, which there are a fair amount of non-sexual drag shows. Yeah.
Well, for instance,
why isn't that just taking the
drag story hour is non-sexual?
I still think that's weird.
Except for the person that founded it apparently is a child molester, and they just had a fucking drag queen like show their fucking dick by accident at one of these. But,
I did not.
Fair enough.
Is that sexual?
The one who showed their dick,
I'll find the article.
That was somebody else. That wasn't a drag story hour thing. They were at a
different event. It was
a children's library thing that they showed up at as like the entertainment. And they had a really
Is the story true? That's crazy. I'm just curious about
outfit for kids, which that I think we can all agree is wrong. But
who's more wrong though, the drag person, or is it the parents taking their kids there? You know what I mean?
Well, it was
both.
The venue was appropriate. The venue was like a children's event for a library or something like that.
In that event, I would say the performer failed to meet the reasonable expectations for how to conduct yourself in that setting.
Yep.
Yeah. And that, I think, is, this is a problem all around. It doesn't matter if you're gay or if you're trans or whatever. This is something that exists in the world, and we should be protective of children regardless of what box they fit into or don't fit into. So I think we can all agree,
All right. Hold on, pause. I got to take an L. It is a CEO that was a major donor and sponsor to Drag Story Hour. I misread it. I take that L. Misinformation from Fabian Liberty Scott. Harmful disinformation. Luckily, I'm not streaming on Twitch tonight. I fucked that up. It just happened to be a CEO of Cream City Foundation.
What did I say?
It was a large sponsor of Drag Queen Story Hour.
My
bad. Harmful misinformation out there, boys.
At least he's honest.
We do the best we can.
Now, thank you for correcting that.
At least he's honest.
You shouldn't do that. So, like Roger Stone says, you attack. You never, ever defend ever. Just keep fucking attacking.
Sure.
Well, I always do the best I can to stick to the truth, no matter.
I respect the honesty.
I don't know if Roger Stone is going to appreciate those frog lips on his ass.
Hasn't had a moment yet that wants to weigh in. I want to give people
Nicholas.
who maybe. Nick,
do we really want these
Rose,
people to talk? Let's be real.
All right, I'm going to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't have the input of a Discord moderator.
Do you think that drag is kink?
What? I think drag can be a kink. I don't think it's inherently a kink.
Do you think kink around children?
I think anything can be a kink.
I don't think anybody thinks that it's okay.
Do you think kink shaming can be a kink?
What is this question?
Maybe.
Do you think
Nicholas
kink around children? Do you think kink around children is okay? If drag is a kink,
is
it okay for that kink to be around children?
I don't know if we're doing the RGR thing and we're like, well, this person has a foot fetish, but they're walking barefoot outside, and now they're making this guy fucking like have an orgasm in his fucking pants looking at it. I don't think it's inherently like, I don't think that person would be like a fucking pedophile for walking barefoot at a pride event or something.
This is fucking crazy.
I think it depends on what the action is.
If you're going out trying to like turn someone on, you're like a piece of fucking shit. If you're trying to do that around kids, like easy. I don't care what the fuck it is. Like,
how do we get here? Well, I don't know.
Sorry, Stardust. My bad. Oop.
What?
Nothing.
Anyways.
Stardust, do you think drag is a kink?
What is happening?
I don't know.
Right.
I'm the moderator of no opinions on any of this. So,
Stardust, do you think that moderating a panel is a kink?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, they keep resetting this.
If you moderate a panel in front of children, are you a pedophile?
Wow.
Okay, no, it's okay. It's like one of those self-punishment things, right? Like only somebody who hates himself would continually do this over and over again.
You're supposed to be talking about drag shows for children.
So it's a masochism thing.
Well, this conversation went off the rails completely. So it was interesting.
Keep the kids off of Stardust panels.
I agree.
What were we
with
talking
that.
about? What I missed?
I agree with that. Get this fucking frog out of here. Get this kid out of here.
Yeah.
It's a little bit racist, but okay.
We're not talking about anything. All right, fair enough.
All right,
they've given up. They've given up on defending their moral position.
Okay, so when you say the drag is kink, I think that drag is inherently kink, and I think you look at drag performers. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel. This guy who I was friends with, who was a TikToker, collaborated with TikTok, did all these things.
What was his name?
His name's Victory Ryder. He would literally make these videos where he would respond to children.
I never heard
and it would be like these sexual jokes the kids would make. And I had to tell him, listen, the stuff that you're doing, it's incentivizing them to make these comments. It's really gross. And then obviously, I don't watch RuPaul, but I remember I was looking up for a video and I saw there was this one clip of RuPaul, she-male or female. The whole clip is literally just them making misogynist jokes and then looking at pictures of women. It's like, oh, is this a drag queen or is this a real woman? And obviously the word she-male being a transphobic slur.
Autogonophilia.
So what does that have to do?
I don't know why
you
we're
said
asking.
It's inherently a kink, though?
Oh, inherently a kink. Because for some people, it's obviously going to be
a kink. Dragon?
Autogonophilia is a thing.
That's a dragon?
We don't like to talk about it because we might get
Is he a fucking dragon, bro?
It's certainly an aspect.
Scott's on the AGP train.
Beckett. Thank you, Beckett, for the 5 gifted memberships.
What the fuck is it? A fucking dragon?
It's not that it's fucking I'm not a conspiracy theorist with it.
So.
It's a dragon.
So Rose, what makes that inherently a kink though? You didn't quite get to that point.
I think it's one of the gay frogs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. So first of all, I think the majority, there are straight men who do it, but I think mostly drag is gay men, right? And a lot of the defense I see is they're just expressing themselves. But it's drag inherently is an expression for somebody else. And it's this overperforming, exaggerated of female. And, when you're wearing these big, I don't want to go into detail, but you're exaggerating female parts and you're exaggerating the female form. I do think that is inherently kink. There is inherently some of that there.
I don't know.
If you want to express yourself, you're not expressing yourself when you do that.
So that
I've just seen way too many examples of drag queens acting sexual and making all these sexual jokes. It's are there some where they're just lame sticking? I'm sure there are, but the vast majority that I've seen have kink elements. The fact that they're mostly adult shows for adults.
Well, it wouldn't necessarily make it kink or inherently kink, especially not. I think it's that some will sexualize the performance. Many will, probably most. I'd say that most drag shows tend to have strong elements of sexualizing, right? But they're not necessarily getting off on it.
What about drag kids? I don't know.
Right?
Drag kids, no thank you.
Kink for them.
That's a good question.
More about
you should be running the panel.
Being sort of a very a highly exaggerated caricature of femininity, or as our culture identifies femininity. So femininity is often sexualized in our culture, in Western culture especially, but in many cultures. And so they're taking the sexualization of women and placing it on a pedestal and then enhancing it and showing a spotlight on it and exaggerating all the elements of sexualized femininity.
I don't know what RGR is
in many cases
at all. So
I wouldn't necessarily call that a kink. The kink aspect is whether or not you're getting off on doing that, right?
Believe that. I feel like you're just proving my point when you say it's an exaggeration of these sexualized acts aspects. Okay, this is someone who's looking at something that isn't maybe inherently sexual. They're like, oh, look, let me see how I can make this more sexual. Let me see how I can exaggerate this. Like, I don't know how you can look at that and then say, oh, this isn't kink. This isn't inherently sexual in nature. Like I said,
if I'm being technical,
you haven't considered
right?
You haven't considered
what
that
it is sexualized. So I think in hypersexualized, you could even say, but kink is something more specific than that.
Nicholas Deorio.
Yeah, well, you haven't considered, Rose, so we're on a leftist podcast or panel right now. So they're going to tell you that putting your dick in somebody isn't sexual inherently. Having an orgasm is inherently sexual.
Bad Face City with Doobie today.
Hang on, Doobie. You know
anal
me.
sex.
Hey,
is anal sex inherently sexual? Fuck, I don't know. Like,
Doobie, this is a misrepresentation. This is a misrepresentation of me. I do not appreciate this. Doobie knows me as being one of the most prudish people he knows. So,
can I confirm or deny that?
No, but when we say that something is a kink, now the old school terminology for the term kink meant something that was out of the ordinary, right? So it could be used to describe anything that was out of the ordinary, and not even necessarily nothing sexual.
What is this?
But in more recent years, it's become
what the fuck is this?
We look at it more because of its sexual.
Oh my God.
Sexual kinks, right? A sexual kink would be, I do this thing because it gives me sexual pleasure and gratification for doing it, right? That would be like a sexual kink. So when we usually talk about the kink at Pride or something, we're talking about people gaining sexual gratification off the thing that they're doing at Pride. And so that's where like the disagreement is with people for the kink at Pride thing. And there's a bunch of people defending it saying, well, it's just their sexuality, right? So
most Pride events, if you just had like a live camera, like your YouTube would be taken down because you'd violate TOS over and over again.
Yeah, Stardust, that thing you just streamed for us, right? That image of, I think that was a drag queen on his back, with legs spread eagle.
Oh, play it again. I missed it because I was
talking. Well, yeah, I mean, we all agree that's inappropriate. That's just like that's.
Well, hold on. What's inappropriate about having your legs spread eagle like that in front of children? Let's be real here.
I think what's inappropriate is that you're gonna make me kill myself. All right.
Don't get my hopes up, you dumb bitch.
Why? So is this like?
I think it's the exposing of the genital area that is most inappropriate for people.
But what if it's a nudist Pride?
That's a good point.
I like the kid looking.
Is it?
Like this? Like that's exactly what I would do too. I'd be like,
why would you do that in public?
So you guys are like, I take it like
streaming.
Everybody's against like cheerleaders and stuff too, right? Just in general.
Have you ever seen a cheerleader do that?
Yeah, this is
actually, I was at a cheerleader where they were actually lifting up their legs to show.
Cheerleaders lay down right in front of children with their legs spread over.
Yeah. No, but cheerleaders
they do it in front of large crowds. I don't know if you've ever been to a sporting event, but yes,
are taught to kick their legs up and show their asses and all of that, and like, and I'm sorry, I feel like we've been teaching girls how to like groom themselves.
Why are we circling back
for decades? So
like Doobie and I specifically already answered this question. I said competition cheerleading.
Why are you acting like this? Why are you acting like this conversation has any continuity? We're just talking. You know what I mean?
You know what, Papa? You're right. We're just bouncing around.
Is that you guys would have stumbled onto the truth right from the start if you just agreed with everything we said.
I would just like to point out that we've got a frog full frontal here, no clothing, spread legged,
in front of kids,
just showing his crotch.
I think I upset Stardust a little bit.
And I
should not be watching this.
Yeah,
I was told it's an 18+ broadcast.
Yeah, but you have me here, Doobie, and you know me.
Well, you knew I'd be naked.
Very offensive.
So it's not my problem.
I find
you know I'd have my dick out. And if you don't want to be here, don't be here.
It's very offensive, Doobie.
All right.
You should be wearing shorts.
Something is sexual if it's trying to induce sexual pleasure in yourself.
We got the goddamn English teacher.
Nudity is not inherently sexual. And to assert that is deeply problematic. That's how you get people saying that a woman breastfeeding is sexual, or equal laws on acceptable degrees of public nudity are sexual, or condemning just third world cultures where they just don't wear as much clothes because it's hot.
I just don't care.
And you just get this real brain draining conversation real fast.
Yeah, hold on, Pixie. To be clear, to be super clear, right? Like I agree, and I don't think most people on this panel need that like spelled out for them, with the exception of Critical Canadian.
He's so stupid.
I mean, I think
we all agreed with that.
Oh my god, this guy's.
I don't actually care what it is. Like nudity is not at all required for sexuality. Like it could be literally anything. It's just, is someone reasonably
It does help.
getting to someone else off? I mean, yeah, typically, yeah. But when we're talking about what counts as a kink or not, we're just talking about what's like an atypical means of doing that, of being sexual.
Right. I mean, like, I would say this, right? That like people are attracted to secondary and primary sexual characteristics, especially primary, right? And so if you're engaged, if you're engaged,
on TikTok, baby.
People that are not asexual, all right, but you know, like we're not talking about bibliophiles, right? Like why do I need to add hashtag not all before every statement I make? You get what I'm saying, all right? But like, so I think if you are using those and they're shown, right, obviously it is a lower bar of entry, I could say, right, in the subjective kind of like understanding of what is and isn't sexual, right? Like if I'm dancing and I'm shaking my boobs, right, and I'm fully clothed, one might not see that as sexual, as if my breasts are fully out and I'm literally shaking my tatas, right? Like, so there's nudity is gonna play a role. It's gonna play an element, right? As into the context of whether or not something is widely perceived as sexual.
Yeah, we just make a reasonable analysis based on what we can perceive, and we can't read people's minds.
Right, of course.
I feel like we brushed over this earlier, but I feel like I need to make the point that
I never got to apologize.
Sexual objectification of women and the grooming, the societal grooming that happens to women, right, from the moment they're born, having like makeup ads and, you know, princess dresses and, you know, you need to, you know, put on the fucking nail polish and all this kind of shit.
Wait, why are princess dresses sexualized?
Well, that's not just about the sexualized, right? It's they're being pushed into a certain like
subservience.
The subservience thing, but also like the way that they express their gender is very much for men, right? Like right from the start, you wear uncomfortable shoes, have your ass stuck out. You know, you're wearing you know, dresses with no fucking pockets. You're putting on all this makeup. You have to cut all your hair.
Oh, they need cargo
shave all your body
dresses.
Hair. Is cum sexual?
So this is like a mainstream feminist critique of Western society, of all society, right? Is that women are from birth pushed into a very sexualized role, right? So for you to say that, hey, you know, people don't complain about this, well, they do. This is what feminists have been complaining about.
What are you talking about?
True.
Yeah.
What was I don't understand. What was the point of it? What are you talking about? What was the point of what you're saying?
The point was what I just said, right? So you guys were asking, hey, why don't people complain about, you know, high school cheerleaders or child?
Oh, no one said why don't they complain. We said that people don't complain to the same degree as when it comes to a gay dude.
That's what feminism is about.
Yeah, I feel like I have nothing else to add here because I've already answered that question.
It's the disproportionate
response, but
then
they should, and I think some people are very opposed to those things. But it's but nobody takes it seriously. Because it's a bunch
like
of
I already answered the question. There's a broader context of why parents are more fearful of
you were watching a VOD the whole time.
Influences on their children, given all of the other things that are happening to their children and the ways that their children are being psychologically harmed and used as, you know, individual tools to establish a new vanguard party.
Yeah, ironically, one of the I think I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. So one of the critiques that feminists have of drag queens is that it is like blackface, right? So feminists feel like society is pushing them to be subservient to men, to pamper themselves up, to pretty themselves up for men from birth, and then you have men putting on these dresses, putting on all this makeup and the fake tits and shit, and playing out caricatures of that stereotype of this thing that's pushed onto children.
Here's what you do.
Like that's one of the critiques of drag queens from feminists.
Some, but very few.
Response. So the problem is that there's such an aggressive response toward drag queens, and not so much toward the other things, which are, of course, as Scott mentioned earlier, normalized, right? So we have the objectification and sexualization of women at a young age normalized across this spectrum of activity. But then there's this other one over here that comes from from people identified as LGBT, and that very much smaller, kind of tiny subset is getting a disproportionate negative and hostile response.
Yeah, but like Scott already kind of laid out why that is.
Yeah, I've answered it like 4 or 5 times.
So we just need to normalize the LGBT portion, and then everything's okay.
No,
well, we've agreed that
we disagree with both of those things. We say both of those things are bad, and then the whataboutism is not really an argument.
They make me stupid too, yeah.
Disagree with both of them.
Yeah, we agree that the other thing is bad. You're saying, hey, let's normalize this other bad thing because the first bad thing is.
Are you saying that the gay people are bad? Is that the bad thing you're talking about?
No, that's no.
You said both things. So the sexualization and like what the existence of the LGBTQ community. Like, what is the other thing exactly?
Exposing children to gender bending ideology and performative art to children that are unable and unsure to be able to identify themselves, and instead of having a default position of the fact that boys are boys and girls are girls, and confusing them with an ideology that they can't possibly comprehend, and likely can't fully comprehend until they're all the way, or at least most of the way through puberty, as like a normative thing, is something that I would say is horrible, and we shouldn't be doing that to children.
What do you think what do you think is really difficult for children to comprehend about drag shows? Like, what's the impossibility to comprehend? Like, it's just gay dudes dressed up like girls for fun.
Again,
I'm just saying. Okay, but most of the time,
most of the time.
Again, it's the context, right? You, in that specific situation, all that is a somewhat confusing and weird thing, right? Like, by itself, isolated completely without any of the other context. What you get is a bunch of kids going, what the fuck is happening here? Probably thinking that these people are super weird and strange, but it's not isolated. It's not by itself. Like even when you look at the video, even when you look at the video, right? And the video evidence and the photos from the specific incident we're talking about, Drag Your Kids to Pride. There's 2 t-shirts that you can see that very clearly tie this to the overarching context. There's a young boy that is, or presumably a boy that is wearing a t-shirt that looks like it says "Don't mess with Texas" and it says "Don't mess with trans kids." Right? There's no such thing as a trans kid. They don't exist.
Well, I think that's
gender identity
correct.
Disorder and gender dysphoria.
Well, I mean,
you were never a trans kid. You were a child with gender dysphoria, and you.
Well, yeah, but isn't that like the same thing though? Like,
it's not.
Why?
There's no such thing as trans. I'm actually quoting Buck Angel here.
Buck Angel is a nice guy, but he's a conservative trans person.
Scott, what you're talking about? You're talking about pre-op.
I'm going to add the other. You're
talking
children.
about pre-op.
They're not trans. They're not trans kids. Okay, they are kids with gender identity dysphoria. Okay, or sorry, gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria, depending on which definition you would like to use. They're not trans kids. They don't exist.
Gender identity dysphoria, by the way.
Well, what's the outcome of somebody with gender dysphoria? Okay. Usually,
90% of the time, they're comfortable as the cis body that they're in.
So diagnosed gender dysphoria. Can I just want to see a statistic on that. I'm just very curious. So you're saying that diagnosed people with gender dysphoria, 90% of the time?
This isn't like a
I'm just curious.
Statistic.
No, I'm curious about it.
Afterwards I can send it to you, but the overwhelming majority realize that they're just lesbian or gay or bisexual, that they had a temperament that was differently. And then there's a small minority of them that are just like, yeah, no, I was just playing with gender at that time. And then there's a minority, a very small minority, that when left to their own devices and when not given gender affirming care, maintain a happy, healthy life as the body that I'm sorry.
Are you conflating
a small portion of them, 10% that are such as Rose Mully said? The second t-shirt, because I got attacked without being able to say what the second t-shirt was. The second t-shirt is a young black girl that's wearing a rainbow skirt, and it says equality, and then it says equity, and it uses the E, the Q, and the U, right, for both words, so that you can understand that equality and equity is the same thing. There is a political indoctrination and philosophy that is present even in the fucking video that we're seeing.
Dude, everybody's families who have any kind of political agenda have political indoctrination for their children, right? Same thing with religion. There's religious indoctrination in families. So this is no different from any other politically aware family in the US.
That's bullshit, and you know it. That's bullshit. You know,
Okay,
just trying to say that they're completely.
There's
kids showing up to anti-abortion protests, saying, you know, with pro-life shirts on and shit, right? And going to MAGA rallies with
that doesn't in any way doesn't in any way, shape, or form say anything about whether or not these things are connected, which they are.
Wait, so
it doesn't matter. Everybody's doing political. Well, not everybody, but a lot of families are doing political and religious indoctrination of their kids. So are you going to shame them as well, just as much?
I don't think it's reasonable to compare that to transness, which, you know, most trans people have like gender dysphoria, which is like a mental health issue, right? So like that's
when
not
you're
on the
putting,
level of like. But can I say something really? I just want to ask Papa got a question, if that's okay. Pretty please.
Sure, go ahead. And then after, I want to talk about this statistic of like 90% of kids detransitioning.
Yeah, Mr. Gutt, do you think that you know, for a person to be trans, they need to have gender dysphoria?
No.
Okay, well then, yeah. So if you would say yes, then you'd be right in questioning what Scott said. But given that you and a lot of other trans allies,
no, I don't.
Trans activists, so that you don't need to have gender dysphoria to be trans or to be put on puberty blockers or HRT, any of this shit, right? Then what Scott said is correct. It's 90% of those people, of children who identify. 90% of children who identify as trans, right? Who identify as trans, whether or not they have gender dysphoria, right, when they go through puberty, no longer.
It sounds like it sounds like you knew I was looking into this, and you tried to get ahead of what I'm trying to say, because you made the assertion.
That's a typical argument.
Sure. So so you made the assertion that 90% of kids that get diagnosed with gender dysphoria end up detransitioning after.
That's not what I said.
I'm not talking to you.
I said either. I didn't say they were diagnosed with gender dysphoria.
Oh, so then it doesn't matter.
They identify.
Hold on. You specifically brought up gender dysphoria as like an argument. It's 90% of kids that identify as trans they might stop identifying. That's different than gender dysphoria.
Okay, but look, if you look at the current, like the way that the APA handles these,
I think Rose
like
wants to get in as well.
You have to fucking you almost have to assert that if a kid says that they are identifying as trans, like it is difficult and in a possibly career-ending prospect to give them appropriate psychotherapy. At this point in time, the push for gender-affirming care is so fucking strong that psychologists, masters in social work, and counselors are afraid.
Well, you keep conflating a lot of different words.
In order to even,
there's a difference between a push for gender-affirming care versus a push to over-affirm every single person that goes to a therapist. And I feel like you're conflating.
Gender affirming care isn't psychotherapy.
It's not. No, generally, you throughout this conversation, you've conflated a lot of different words together. So it's like, okay, there is a push to implement more gender affirming care, but that doesn't mean that every single person that goes to a therapist is going to be misdiagnosed or like pushed into gender affirming care. Usually, when people push for gender affirming care, it's mostly like access to more, gender affirming care. You know, different types of transitioning tools, I guess you'd say, like different type of surgeries, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not the same thing as saying that that's not the same thing as saying every. But you're not something. But what you're saying specifically, you're using the term gender affirming care to blanket it. What you're specifically trying to say is that we have an issue of overprescribing or overdiagnosing gender dysphoria for kids and pushing them to transition rather than to properly explore. Those are two different things, and you're just conflating them into one.
I'm not conflating.
I want to pass it to Rose. I think Rose has been waiting. So
yeah. Okay, first of all, as a transgender woman who's transitioned early, I want to say when it comes to regret rates for hormones and surgery, when they actually take it, it's incredibly low. Like everyone says this, like when you're talking about the 90%, that's like people in their early childhood who express some feelings of like gender nonconformity, right? But the problem with this is that no one is pushing them to transition. I'll explain this, right? Because in those early years, they can just socially transition. You let them do what they want. You know, they're like 5 years old. Okay, if they want to wear a dress every once in a while, so what? They can decide for themselves whether that's the case. And most of them probably won't transition. But if they get to that age of like 12 years old where they're at puberty, then you can have that conversation. And if they're still identifying as that gender all of those years later, that's the 10%. Those are the people that are trans, and those outcomes for the people that transition at that time is very good.
That's also not true because we do not have enough long-term research. We're just now.
Well, you just proposed long-term research though, and then you're saying now we don't have. Yes, you did, because the research I looked up was actually.
You don't know what you're talking about.
No, I do, because I read into what you're talking about, and they were talking about how there's a different. Yes, I literally just did it, and they were talking.
You just Googled some shit.
That's what you did, and you.
Let's let
No,
Papa
that's
go
no,
finish.
no.
Well,
I went to grad school.
No, I know, but well, that's
fuck
great.
off.
People go to grad school. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily intelligent. In this case, what the study said here was that what had happened is that there's gender dysphoria and gender identity disorder. There was the claim that it could be misrepresented because gender identity disorder was overprescribed, especially just for gay boys, and they would just prescribe it. It's like, yeah, it's a very out of context study, and you constantly keep pushing these like very out of context things. Before, you had to correct yourself because you gave us like misinformation. It seems like you don't do a whole lot of research on the research that you like to promote.
You don't, Papa Gut, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me finish the
Okay, go ahead. Finish the sentence.
Okay, so you're talking about two different things in terms. First of all, we don't have a lot of long-term research. We have preliminary long-term research because this is a relatively new phenomena that we are seeing as large in numbers as we are currently seeing. Second of all, of this much larger group, we're starting to get long-term research. And what we find is that male to female takes a little bit longer than female to male, but that D-trans really doesn't start to kick in until about 6 or 7 years after full transition, after they feel that they've had full transition, or that they've been that they stop going to gender clinics, specifically in the UK is a good example. And male to female, it can take up to 10 years. So we're going to need more time to know what the actual rates of detransition is. What we are talking about is minors that identify as trans and whether or not they go through with the entire process, which is only about 10% as we have it now. Now, granted, there are some studies that are like in the 60%. There are some studies that are above 90%, but generally people accept the idea of roughly 90%.
Yeah, can I say really quickly? So
dude, this is fucking abysmal.
You brought up, them taking these puberty blockers, having access to this when they're like 12 years old. So one of the most progressive places on the planet, right, Sweden, specifically with this issue, they're very progressive, right? They've recently decided that they're actually going to like very harshly restrict puberty blockers and any kind of like medication for people that are under the age of 18 because they've run into all these issues, right? They've run into issues where people who have autism, right? And I think it's like 25% of trans people have autism, right? As opposed to like 5% of the general population.
It's the big three. It's ADHD, autism, and OCD.
Yeah,
those are the big.
And they found that people with autism might fixate on the concept of gender, and this might lead them to identifying as trans and to feeling like they have gender dysphoria when they actually don't. So giving them this medication, giving them this medication very young, can be detrimental to them because it does have long-term side effects.
It's a little bit different for us who are for autistic because a lot of us don't have strong ties to gender identity in general. So like that's kind of, I identify as a woman and tend to express that way, but I don't have like a very like super strong ties to it. And I grew up being kind of somewhere in the middle.
Right. So this is why Sweden, one of the most progressive places on this, has decided to restrict puberty blockers for people under the age of 18 for these reasons, right? Because it's not there are long-term consequences. It is detrimental to people who aren't actually trans and then decide to stop taking them. It doesn't just go back to normal, right? And because a lot of the people that they were identifying as trans or having gender dysphoria weren't actually trans. They just had autism and had fixated on this concept. Right. So that's not to say that all trans people with autism are this way, but they found that a lot of them were. So they're pulling back and they're saying, hey, we're going to be way more rigorous in how we're dealing with this. And rather than the gender affirming care thing, we're going to go straight to psychological and psychiatric care.
There's a ton of research that needs to be done. Like,
no
one knows.
This is fucking nuts because none of these statistics they've given
no one knows
verifiable.
Why cluster B personality disorders are so fucking high in the transgender population. We don't know. We know that narcissistic personality disorder, and we know that borderline personality disorder are way, way more prevalent in the transgender community. Is that a societal issue? Is that the way that they're treated? Is that the trauma that they go through in the transition process? Or is there something else there that is a problem, that is an underlying thing that we're not fixing because we're just putting people into gender affirming care? There's a lot of issues with.
But you keep saying they're just putting people in, but every statistic you've given, like 90% of people that detransition. I just need to see statistics because you said 6 years later people detransition. What does that mean? Because that's nothing is saying that like what trans women detransition after 6 years. None of that is holding up. I can't find a single statistic. It sounds like
you're just saying. There's a really good article on the Cut. So look up the Cut detransitioners or desistants, I think is the word, right? And you'll find it gives you the criticisms of the studies, because there are multiple studies on this. It gives criticisms and the researchers' responses to those criticisms. It's a very well-run study. I'm sorry,
this,
article.
Yes, I want to give the floor to Canadian now.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a older question. It kind of came up. I'm kind of curious, Fabian and Doobie, when do you kind of think that parents should start the conversations of gender and sex? Is there a certain age? Like, if your kid came to you now, like at any age, is there questions that they could ask that you would answer, or is there like questions you would wait on? Would you give just very basic answers?
More fucking study. I don't give a shit.
Right,
About
yeah, I mean, like you're
the back and
when
forth
do you
on
talk about gender? Well, fucking all the time. Right?
Well,
that's
you know
what I mean?
That's what I'm curious though. Is like if your kid brings it up to you, will you engage with that topic right away? Will you tell them to like save the question for when they're older? Or is there certain topics that you try to steer from? Do you wait for your child to bring it up? Like how would you approach talking about these topics to your kids? I'm just kind of curious.
I just need more specifics, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
you deal with it in an age-appropriate manner. Like, you're being extremely vague.
That's what I'm asking, though. If you see an opportunity presented to yourself to talk about like gender or sex, do you engage with it, or do you just kind of like let it slip by if your child doesn't bring it up? Like this is what I'm. How do you engage with these topics?
Again, your question is way too vague. You're asking me how do I parent and all of the words that I say. Like, just give a specific example so that we can understand what you're saying, because your question is extremely open-ended.
Do you mean like how do you introduce the idea of like transgender people or genderqueer people to your children? Like that?
Just how do you approach the topic of gender and sex with your kids? Do you wait for them to bring it up?
Okay, so
or do you bring it up to them with opportunities?
You're like, dude, just ask the question. Stop asking.
I'm trying to understand your parenting style of like how you engage with these topics with your kids. Is this really that vague of a question?
It is an extremely vague question. Like, this is a stupid question. There are such stupid questions, and you are asking.
Would you engage with it, or would you deflect and like change the topic?
What question? What sex?
Any question? Any sex question?
It depends on the fucking question, dude.
Is it like, daddy, what's a blowjob? Daddy, what does cum taste like?
Yes, if a kid came to you and said, I saw something on the internet where it was a woman sucking a dude's dick. Would you engage with that conversation?
How did you see that? Who the fuck showed
that's
that
fair.
to you? Right? Like,
that's fair.
Okay. Like, next, now I have to explain to some degree, right?
Okay.
Because now my child has been exposed to something that I wouldn't have want my child to expose. So I would try and gain information as to where they saw this on the internet, why their internet wasn't being watched, why they were able to access the internet.
There's just
completely unregulated. And once I figure out all of those things, then I will do the best I can to tailor the conversation to a developmentally appropriate answer given like what age they are. Like,
cool. That's what I was wondering.
I answered that way, and then
it's just a bunch of fucking like gender ideologues, just like saying things. I don't understand.
They'll ask where they saw it. They'll kind of shame the kid that they saw it, and then
I don't know, whatever non-gender ideologues. What do you say? It's fucking insane.
Like, the damage is done. Like, now you have to sex.
Can I tell you guys a horror story? Can I give you guys a horror story?
I just feel like this is fucking ballistic. I mean, we're just like throwing out inaccurate statistics.
So I run a Discord server, right? And as a Discord server admin,
it's fucking nuts.
A vagina thrown at me, right?
All right.
And over the years, I've partaken a few times. Right. One of these times, was with a woman who I think she was like, I don't know. So we're fucking around or whatever. Very, very dirty talk in the DMs, right?
I think we're gonna pop out of this in a
DMs
sec.
me and she's like, "Fuck, my kid. I left my phone in my bed. My daughter came over. She saw it. My daughter's like 8 years old. Now she's asking questions. It's really fucking awkward." Right, and I felt terrible for her, and she didn't know what to say. Right, she knew her daughter had seen
home wrecker.
She knew her daughter had seen it. Right, she knew her daughter had seen it.
I'm gonna get off.
She didn't know how to talk to her.
I mean, I'll reach out to Nick about a chat later.
You know, fuck, I don't know. Bye. Right, so So if you're asking me, like, hey, my kid walked over to me. He said,
"You just piece of glad you don't have kids, Doobie."
Look, it said, "Hey, daddy, I saw a blowjob. What's this?" Like, I don't fucking know. I'll deal with that at the time. Okay? Like, I haven't read a book on it yet.
I was just curious because, like, it kind of sounds like a lot of the gender stuff we're talking about. It kind of seems like you want to shield the kids entirely from the conversations until they reach a certain age. That's why I was curious if it's like if your kid engages with shielding them entirely.
Shielding them from things that they're not developmentally able to understand. Yeah, that's called being
There's a difference between doing that and shielding them entirely from a topic.
Well, blowjobs, yeah, you should probably entirely shield your children.
Yeah, I'm not saying go out and show your kids like, hey,
that was the example you gave me.
No, I asked you if
the example you gave me was that they watched a blowjob.
I think
yes, that's not you showing. You should do you know the difference between a kid seeing that on the internet and like a parent showing that?
I want to leave, but I don't want to just disappear.
What happens if they
shield them entirely from certain?
Yeah, there's a difference between shielding them entirely and shielding them when the topic arises.
Do I just reach out to Stardust and say I'm going to dip out so I don't
understand the
distract the conversation?
Sometimes
I'm with Gooby. I think you might be neurodivergent, bro. You should
maybe I am.
You should legit just go to a psychologist.
I said this from the start.
Maybe.
So Scott, sometimes kids will get exposed to things at too early of an age, and
I'm going to pop out only because it's been a while. I'm only interrupting because and I appreciate being on. It's just been like a few hours, so I'm going to pop out here. I appreciate it. I'm talking to you guys, right?
Nice to meet you, Papa guys.
Take care, everybody. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you
so much.
Take care, everybody. All right. Well, that was certainly a conversation to have. I think Nick just left. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was something. Yeah. It's crazy. So that was definitely interesting. I'll say that much. Wow, incredible. So I want to like reflect really quick, but I'm fucking okay. So here's the thing. Interesting conversation. Topic was interesting about taking your kids to drag. I feel like we never really got into the meat and potatoes of it. It feels like a lot of statistics were being thrown around about how everybody detransitions. It's really confusing, and you can't really push because there's too many people. So I think there's one specific assertion was that like 90% of people detransition, and he specifically kept referencing gender dysphoria and gender identity disorder. Now, what I looked into first of all, 90% diagnosed gender dysphoria, not possible. I just don't believe that. So I looked into it because I could have been wrong. Yeah, it's on Stardust YouTube if you want to go over there. So I looked into it. There's a couple of things. The biggest thing was that like there was an overprescription of gender identity disorder. Oh my god. There was an overprescription of gender identity disorder in the past, where like even just gay kids were just like, oh, you have this, right? And so it's not the same thing as gender dysphoria and the way that we understand it now. That being said, like, yeah, there's probably a lot of detransitioning of people who identify as LGBTQ because most of the time they don't really transition in any serious way. I would argue the overwhelming majority of people in the LGBTQ, they just a lot of them will identify. Like I was saying before, some of them might just be exploring their gender, some of them might just be trans trending and just like being fucking whatever. Some of them are probably valid. A lot of them, of course, are going to detransition because all they've transitioned is socially. They might have like, or what they would consider transitioning in some capacity. But diagnosable, no, not possible, not happening. It just doesn't exist. Now, I do think that we're not having the right conversation about like detransitioners for sure. But it seems like they're weaponizing that narrative to try to propose that like there's just constant like there's just the issue is more like actually present than it is. It was a fucking shit show. The whole conversation was a fucking shit show. I think it would have been good. It was fun. It was fun. I think it could have been better if it was a little bit more organized and like one by one, rather than like a free for all where some people were going to talk more than other people. I think the most disappointing part is that they didn't understand my jokes, at least at the beginning. And yeah, I think it was a little too based in some areas. Like everybody was fun. I think that the frog guy, like he's not a bad person, but I think that when it comes to like the professional aspect of that conversation, he just wasn't a good representation of like professionalism. The other guy in the red shirt, right? I disagree with him, but he was professional. And I think that like that was a little bit weird, a little off-putting, I guess I would say. Somebody else who may have disagreed with information would have been nice. The beginning was very awkward. It was very awkward. Overall, it was fun. And amphibian content creators are very weird. Yeah, I think that's what the biggest problem is too many amphibian. The moderator was bad. I don't think that she was bad. I think it's like a very difficult thing to organize a panel and like be in control of the panel constantly. And it was crazy, bro. It was just crazy. Interesting first panel. I really would have liked to have more information from Nicholas Deorio. He's offensive to special needs people. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I at a certain point I was like, okay, I'm being stupid. Do I think I'd do more panels? You know, I don't know. I don't think I'd want to do a big panel ever again. I think 4 is my limit for the most part. Who did I like? I mean, they were all fine. I didn't dislike any of them really per se. I just, you know, the biggest problem I had with it was that there wasn't, like, it was hard to talk to people. It was hard to have a, like, legitimate conversation. I think it's just like fucking great. It was just crazy. That was the biggest disappointment, I think, is because, like, we didn't, like, there were so many weird fucking up, down, back, left, right, back and forths. There was, like, a lot of proposal of bad information, which we already showed. And it's like, and it's, like, hard to press because, like, you know, it was just hard to, like, fucking, it's hard to press because, like, you can't, it's not like you would have, like, oh, okay, I have my turn to talk in 5 minutes. I'll just write down what that person said, and then I'll turn back to it and say, like, hey, you said this. I have a contest, I want to contest A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. It didn't really get to happen. That's, like, one of the worst panels to start with. It's only once a year, thankfully. What, that's only once a year? I thought that was once a week. Either way. That was fucking crazy. Yeah, too many loud people. Well, that's the problem, is that, like, people... Christian, no, I'm going to bang out. I'm going to hang out with my wife. We're going to go race somebody, and then, of course, we'll be back to the stream. I have to figure out if I'm going to post that. Whoa, Jordy is playing? Whoa, well, we're not going to raid Jordy because he's a bitch. I'll raid her, though, because she's fun. We're having a political night, so yeah, sure, we'll raid I Go Rules. All right, guys. Oh, you want me to raid Small Ant Mom? Who's that? Let me see. Hold on before you... Oh, my God, I can't fucking click a button. Sorry, guys. Small Ant Mom. Let's see if they're small. Who is this?
We'll see. We've made it past the cloud, dude.
Fuck this person. I don't give a shit.
Preacher or whatever wasn't there. And so he was.
I don't know who that is. All right, guys. Have a good one. I don't know who that is. I'm gonna raid this person. Okay. I don't think Nicholas Deorio is online. If he was, I would have raided him, but I don't think he's even on. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Be respectful. You know the drill. Peace out. Oh, I forgot to read the fucking things. Fuck.
Motivational bits.
Holy shit. Crazy. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.